Uh,
LFG.
it's a big Mets thing.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton, on this hump day? Thanks so much for being with us on the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Got a good show lined up for you. Guests a little earlier than normal. In fact, our first hour here will not be normal. We'll do a starting five, a segment earlier, because Ben Mahler of Fox Sports is going to join us in a little more than 30 minutes' time. Top of the morning to you. How are you?
Good morning, David. Well rested. Got a great night's sleep. Feel good.
Really?
Ready to go.
Wow.
Gearing up now. Now you can start skiing downhill to the Super Bowl. You've climbed the mountain. It's Wednesday. You're halfway there. Fired up.
You are.
Had a great night last night. Had a great little, I don't know what you would call it, but a little social experiment, if you will, of men versus women. Because as you know, David, I've become very neighborly.
Right.
And yesterday had more neighborly things happen.
Man, you're really embracing this.
I had something that hasn't happened to me since something that happened to you and I, hell, almost 20 years ago, before we were even working together. When I was working the afternoon shift and you were working middays or mornings or whatever it is you were doing. Or I was working mornings, you were in afternoons. And, your daughter came to my house and your wife nearly divorced you.
Right. Because apparently
feeding your daughter dinner was a crime.
Well, Mark, you know what the problem was? It was two men getting together, making the plans, making the arrangements. You were attending to your child. I was attending to my child. We actually joined forces. Then we threw in a sporting event along with a meal. And well, that just can't be done.
So the neighbor calls me yesterday and just, and I didn't answer. I didn't see it. So I get a message. Hey, need a favor, call me back.
Oh, now, do you know this neighbor well?
Not really. I've known him for, softball started a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
So I've known him for 2 weeks, roughly.
Gotcha. You know his name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Know the wife's name. Know the last name.
Man, like I told you, I only know the folks across the street. It's the only people. I've lived in the same house 20 years. Most of the people around me have been there minimum of 5 years. I know the guy across the street.
Yeah, he's been there a lot longer than I have. He's 5 doors down other side of the street. And he just called up, said, hey, can you call me back? And I just called him. I said, hey, he's like, hey, we're a little jammed up with this practice, that practice, and kids and whatever. And I got called into a work meeting because he works from home. He goes, anyway, you can pick my daughter up and take her to practice with you. I said, no problem.
Yeah, he's known you 2 weeks. You don't seem like an axe murderer. All right,
well,
sure.
He knows I have a daughter, knows where I live.
Right. And if you are an axe murderer, you're probably not going to do it while you're also with your daughter.
Exactly.
Right.
So I said, no problem. And he was gone, so I went and picked up his daughter. And I could tell by the look on his wife's face that she was scared to death.
That as soon as you were done, she picked up the phone and said, what the hell kind of arrangements did you make?
And so practice went fine. He showed up at practice, took his daughter home. The two kids got along great. It was, but that is right there, the difference between mothers and fathers. There is no way, and I don't even think my wife knows, because my wife went out last night. I was in bed before she got home. I don't even think my wife's aware that this happened.
Wife went out last night?
Yeah.
On Tuesday night?
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, when it's a go night, it's a go night. Who am I to get in the way?
I understand, but damn, I'm impressed.
And she was up at 4:15 to work out this morning too, after a go night.
That's disheartening
in a lot of different ways, isn't it?
It really is. Man, skinniest, best looking person of the group is out late, up early. Really, it's disheartening to the rest of us.
It most certainly is. But yeah, daughters got to practice. Kids are friendlier than they were
Sure.
a day later. They
Right.
already ready for planning sleepovers.
Right. Which the men would arrange. Sure.
No
Let's
problem.
alternate every other night.
Just
kids.
ask your dad. That's all you got to do.
Kids, make sure you lock up the liquor cabinet when you're done. Can we have ice cream? Yes, of course
Yeah,
you can have ice cream at 9:30 at night. Absolutely.
Just stay away from dad's bourbon.
What time does that show end? 11? Okay, then you've got to get ready for second grade. Yes, you've got to go to sleep. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a little softball practice, a little
Wow.
extra parenting last night. I mean,
Look at that. I like it.
right into college hoop. Right in
There you go.
all leading into Marquette and Connecticut at 6:30, David.
Well, it's the FS1 game.
Right, it
It's a
is.
6:30 FS1 game. It's
Wasn't
got-
that competitive last night?
Mark Miller written all over it. Certainly better in the second half of Purdue, Illinois, when the Boilermakers said to the Fighting Illini, "This is our conference."
Right. There wasn't a lot of fight left in the Illini, who were down a few players in that game as it was. But wow. At least Purdue can score in the Big Ten, because there was like 7 other games, and I don't think anybody got over 60 in those.
Down goes Auburn. They hadn't lost since Thanksgiving. In fact, I think it was the day before Thanksgiving. And Vegas was on it. It was a 1-point spread either way at Arkansas. Arkansas got off to a great start. Then they faltered. Now I think they've won 8 or 9 in a row. So Musselman's got it going on. They'll probably be ranked next week.
A little bit like last night's game. Went all over the place. Arkansas had a lead early. Auburn came back. It was back and forth the whole way. Sloppy.
Now, we chastise, mostly me, Texas for storming the court after beating Kansas.
Both ranked teams.
Yes. All right. Arkansas stormed the court, beating number 1 Auburn.
I'm fine with it. They were an unranked team that knocked off the number 1 team in the country. That's a court storm.
Also, first time under Musselman. Like, this isn't Mike Anderson. This isn't obviously going back to Nolan Richardson. I mean, but first time under Musselman. He's trying to make Arkansas again, which can be done, by the way. Great facilities, great fan support. You can win in any sport at Arkansas.
Right, but basketball in particular, because you don't need as many.
Right.
Find yourself 2 or 3, you can go a long way.
And Musselman can recruit nationally because he's been all over. And he's had NBA jobs. So he can look a recruit right in the face and say, hey, I know all about the league. I can get you in the association. I know what works there.
So, good little night of college hoop last night.
And 2 major NBA trades. And Mark, you know me. Nobody likes a trade deadline like Miller and Moulton.
Particularly Moulton.
Love me a trade deadline. Got a 6-player deal. No. I'll top that. I'll give you a 7-player deal with 3 draft picks thrown in. Ha! Done. This is 2 days out. We got today and we got most of Thursday. Huh. Let's keep those cards and letters coming. Brooklyn's lost 9 in a row. God knows who they may trade between now and 3 o'clock tomorrow. Love me a trade deadline. Especially one that delivers. This one's already delivered. There was more action yesterday than I thought there'd be between now and Thursday. Very excited, Mark.
I'm glad that you're excited about the NBA trade deadline.
I love it.
You love yourself a deadline.
I
You and
do.
Felipe can break it down during the commercial breaks for the Twitch audience.
Do you know why I like a trade deadline? Any trade deadline, any sport, because to me, in most cases, it shows a team that's trying. One of the 2 teams involved is usually trying in the deal. The other could be just dumping salaries and what have you. But to me, it usually shows one of the 2 teams is really trying. Like of the 2 trades yesterday, one was a team dumping and the other team in the deal trying. And then the other trade was 2 teams trying. Reshuffling the deck, but trying. And both teams arguably trading away their best player. It's like, whoa, now that's a trade. So, yeah, that's why I love me some trade deadlines.
Well, I do think for a fan base, it shows, like you said, that the organization cares, or it can show that the organization doesn't care at all.
Exactly. And I think as a fan, it's good to know where you stand.
And not caring doesn't necessarily mean dumping for the future. You know, you could have Orlando and Detroit, and the Pacers were certainly trying to do something for their future, because this year went horribly wrong.
And last year did not go well either. So they're like, you know what? This core that we thought was going to win, turns out this is bad batch. We got to make a new batch. So that's what they're doing.
Boy, I hate a bad batch.
I thought I'd speak in terms you could relate to. NBA trades, not so much. Make it a food reference. I knew you'd be all in.
Nobody wants a bad batch, David.
Your eyes went from glazed over to a gleam.
Well, it's hard to get excited about Pacers basketball,
Well,
even in Indiana.
Notice I didn't mention the specific
team. No, I understand, and you're right.
All right, just in theory. That's all. Now, if you pay attention, it's even better. Like, I'll bet Felipe, I'll bet he might have turned on NBA TV yesterday. He was or NBA radio, although I doubt he has Sirius, but I was going to say, if we're paying him that much where he is Sirius,
we better not be.
Right.
Tell you what, it was a stupid trade.
See? There you go. That's another thing. Make the trade, and all of a sudden you get your fan base upset. Who the hell made this deal? What do we got? 4 drunks at the end of the bar running this franchise? What the heck?
What I enjoy about how this show's already working out is that you heard the elation in David's voice when talking about the trade deadline and the trades that happened. What we get on the other side are the actual players involved in the trade.
Right.
And I want everybody to pay attention. In the Twitch chat room, I want you to use just numbers of the number of players in the trade that you actually recognize who the hell they are.
I'm only going to mention the players that you may have heard of before.
Even still, in the Twitch chat room, just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you've actually heard of them.
13 players dealt yesterday. I'm going to mention 4 of them.
Because you don't know who 9 are guaranteed.
See how many of the 4 you know. And then you can even play a little game with yourself, try to figure out what team they were on.
Play along with one of the hosts.
It's all coming up next. The starting 5 is next because, well, we're going to have Ben Mahler in about 20 minutes' time. He's just getting off his national show shift, and so he's in L.A., so we'll kick it around with Ben. After all, they are hosting Super Bowl 56. Miller and Moulton on this fine hump day morning. Let's get over it together here on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
It's funny because we were having a debate about the two most. We were having a debate yesterday about the 2 most irrelevant franchises, and both of them that we were arguing made deals.
Correct.
So, yay! 4 teams that just okay. Hey, you're the Kings. We got Sabonis now. Okay. Cool. Now what?
Got the whole rest of the league, though, that went, wait a minute, Halliburton was available?
Right.
I mean, that's what the whole rest
Oh
of the
my
league's
God.
like, we would have given you more than that.
Yeah. I cannot believe they just, by the way, they gave away probably their 2 best shooters. Because Buddy Hield is gone too.
Right. Well, and the other thing which I'm surprised about is they decided to stay married to De'Aaron Fox.
Oh, yeah.
Well, but the thought was they were going to trade Fox and keep Halliburton.
Or either one, vice versa.
Why would you keep the guy with a max deal?
Right. You want to keep the cheaper guy, but the guy with the max deal is unbelievable. Halliburton is great, but De'Aaron Fox is really great.
You haven't won shit with him.
No, they haven't. By the way,
One guy's on a rookie deal, the other guy's on a max contract.
and with how long Buddy Hield trade talks have been circusing around the NBA, it's felt like it's been going on for 5 years now. The Pacers, that's where he lands. I don't know. Give me a break. Lakers should have traded for him instead of Westbrook either way, so.
I don't think they would have done a deal with them.
Oh, no. But
Hey, this is the NBA. Remember, everybody that was dealt yesterday could get dealt again in the next 20 hours.
that's a good point. Old George Hill.
Julie got a win yesterday. Came
saw
back
that
in the
on
second
the
half.
road.
Yeah. I text him.
Okay, I have a hockey question right now.
All right.
So, once again, there's not a single NHL player playing in the Olympics right now, correct?
Former.
Or former, current.
But
and
no.
NHL
No
player.
current.
No current.
What about the CHL?
The what?
The KHL?
Is it
The Russian league?
No, isn't there such thing as called the CHL, like the Canadian Hockey League? Is that a thing?
No.
Yeah, I mean, the juniors, if you want to call the juniors Canadian, I mean, I don't know if they call all the juniors together, but there's no Canadian Hockey League.
There's not?
No, not professional. They have the 6 teams that are in the league.
There's not a professional Canadian Hockey League?
No.
Why did I think there was?
Today's National Pizza Day.
Hey, free pizza somewhere, hopefully.
We should almost start doing that every day again. You rattling off the 17 different days it is today.
My God, they've got 47 poll questions this morning.
Adam got rid of his mullet. First off, does it surprise anybody that Adam had a mullet?
I mean, he's a Jaguars fan, so no.
Well done, Adam. 2 years. That's a very good COVID move. I'm trying to grow mine out so I can have a man bun by my birthday.
Honestly, if I have a dream of like a stereotypical Jaguars fan, I'm picturing it's a white dude with a mustache and basically Garner Minshew.
Well, Adam, I think, lives in the Panhandle.
I'm thinking Garner Minshew.
Oh, please. Adam's favorite player of all time.
Yeah. But like that with a mullet in the stands with like Oakley sunglasses. Shorts. Loose jersey.
Jorts or shorts?
Ooh. Might have to go jorts, actually.
Because I picture a Jags fan in jorts.
Flip-flops?
Definitely jorts.
No, not flip-flops. David's shower shoes. The Adidas, like the slip shoes.
The
Slip-ons.
flops.
Yeah. And then either a wife beater.
Under the jersey?
Or no jersey at all. Yeah, I mean, just a wife beater. Jorts and a wife beater.
Tim Tebow jersey. How about
There you
that?
go.
There you go. Tim Tebow.
Wow,
Jags
Adam.
Jersey.
How about that?
You guys are really.
Adam, that was a
Redneck Riviera.
Oh, are you in the Riviera,
Yeah.
Adam?
Yep.
A Riviera.
Do you know what the Redneck Riviera is, Felipe?
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
It's 20 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Ben Mahler in about 15 minutes' time. So we're going to go out of order today, if that's all right. A little earlier than normal, it is time for...
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
We always lead with football unless there's very strange circumstances. So NFL, Mark.
Wait, you're not starting with that trade?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm starting with football. I'm starting with what the people really, really always care for. That's what we do on this show. We do football first. We figure everything else out second.
Okay.
The Texans claim that the Brian Flores lawsuit did not affect their head coaching decision. Do you believe them, yes or no?
No.
If the choices were yes, no, or hell no.
Hell no.
Thank you. The Jags have announced that they intend to hire current Bucs inside linebackers coach Mike Caldwell to be their defensive coordinator. Caldwell and Peterson's paths crossed in Philadelphia, where Caldwell was coaching on the defensive side of the ball and Peterson was coaching on the offensive side of the ball about 10, 12 years ago. Washington Commander safety Deshazor Everett charged with involuntary manslaughter in the death of his girlfriend in a car crash on December 23rd. Everett's been a longtime special teams captain for the Commanders. And speaking of special teams, that's where Joe Judge's background was before he was hired by the Giants. Well, he goes back to New England, but this time as an offensive assistant with the Patriots. I think we're all waiting to see who their offensive coordinator is going to be. They haven't had many. They've had Charlie Weiss, Bill O'Brien, and Josh McDaniels. The whole time he's been there, he's had 3.
Think O'Brien would come back?
What would you do? Bryce Young for another year or Mac Jones?
Well, I'd go NFL.
I think I'd stay at Alabama. And then maybe call my shot at the end of next year. I'm surprised he didn't get more interest in a head coaching job.
Which is why I would go be an OC in the NFL, because being an OC at the best college football program and going, hey, I can score 50 against Mississippi State. So what?
See, and I think I'd stay at Alabama, and maybe me and Bryce could be a package deal in next year's draft. Speaking of college football, Michigan, Mark, is expected to hire Jesse Minter to be their defensive coordinator. He spent last year at Vanderbilt, but the 4 years previous to that, he was on John Harbaugh's defensive staff with the Ravens. So they lose the defensive coordinator to the Ravens, but basically then Brother Jim says to Brother John, so who would you recommend? Oh, this guy we had the last 4 years. He's at Vandy now. Get him. He'd be great. Oh, thanks. Thanks, bro. College hoops, number 1 Auburn loses in overtime at Arkansas, 80-76. So it'll be either Gonzaga or Purdue likely to be the number 1 team in the country next week. Speaking of Purdue, the 3rd-ranked Boilermakers, big second half to put the 13th-ranked Illini away, 84-68, and they swept Illinois in the season series. Sparty lost at home to Wisconsin in a battle of ranked Big Ten teams, 70-62. UConn in a battle of ranked Big East teams beat Marquette 80-72. Other ranked winners were Kentucky, Villanova, UCLA, USC, although if you listen to us, we said take Pacific in the 22 against the Trojans, who only won by 6. There was one upset, Mark. 22nd ranked St. Mary's went on the road and lost to Santa Clara. Those road conference games, it doesn't matter the conference.
That's a tough one, though, because that probably puts St. Mary's a lot closer to a bubble than an automatic bid when you start losing in conference games late in the season.
In state, UCF edged Wichita State 71-66. FAU bombed ODU 81-62. All right, here we go. Not 1, but 2 big trades. A 6-player deal between Indiana and Sacramento. The headlines, 2-time All-Star Sabonis goes to the Kings. Meanwhile, first-round pick from just 2 years ago, Tyrese Halliburton, along with Buddy Hield, go from Sacramento to Indiana. Most people feel the Pacers got the better of the deal.
Arvydas Sabonis?
Domantas Sabonis.
Oh, that one.
Meanwhile, that was the 6-player deal. Portland and New Orleans says we'll go 7 players and throw in 3 draft picks. The headliner, C.J. McCollum, goes from the Blazers to the Pelicans. Blazers get 4 players and 3 draft picks and a ton of salary cap relief. Very quickly, here's what New Orleans is thinking. Get Zion healthy next year, along with Brandon Ingram and C.J. McCollum, and turn around and go, what do you think? Because remember, they got to keep Zion. And next year could be his last year on his rookie deal. So,
I mean, that's, the one headline I read about it said the Pelicans get better now and tomorrow.
Right.
I mean, that was
but is it enough to keep Zion? Just like Portland's going to turn around and say to Lillard, okay, we weren't going anywhere with everybody who was around you. We've basically just traded everybody around you. And now we have $60+ million in cap room. We can go get an all-star or 2 and put them around you. Would you please stay?
Who would you like to play with?
And Lillard, most people think, is going to go, that's cute, I'm out of here.
Yep.
Phoenix edged the Sixers 114-109 last night. Brooklyn lost their 9th in a row. Boston beat them by, no big deal, 35. Milwaukee 15 better than the Lakers. Denver routed the Knicks by much more than the 132-115 final score. Orlando with a road win in Portland by 18. Other winners, Dallas, New Orleans, Memphis, Atlanta. And I didn't see who won the Minnesota-Sacramento game. I'm going to guess the T-Wolves.
I hope so.
Considering Sacramento traded away 3 guys. But
T-Wolves by how much?
I'll guess 11.
20.
Hey.
NHL, Sidney Crosby got his 499th career goal. Penguins rallied from 2 goals down, beat the Bruins 4-2. Ottawa edged Carolina 4-3. Canes have lost 2 in a row here. Columbus edged the Caps 5-4, who, remember the great start they got off to? They're in 4th in their division now. I mean, they're going to make the playoffs, but they could be a wild card team. New Jersey 7-1 over Montreal. Winnipeg shut out Minnesota 2-0. Vegas did the same to Edmonton 4-0. When are they going to blow that thing up? I mean, how long is Connor McDavid going to be a polite person with what's going on in Edmonton? He's hockey's version of Mike Trout right now. He's not playing in a meaningful game.
No.
And he's the best player on the planet.
He is, and he's got one of the best players on the planet
with him
on his team.
Right.
And, well, Ken Holland's a terrible GM. He was at the back end with Detroit when they put this thing called a salary cap in. And he's no good now. And he's going to the Hall of Fame. That's the funny part.
Well, when you get a couple cups, you go. Vancouver 5-1 over Phoenix to round out the NHL scoring. Hey, it's not a good Winter Olympics for Michaela Schifrin. Remember, she won the giant slalom last Olympics. Yeah, and then she crashed out of the giant slalom because she missed a gate. Well, yesterday she missed a gate and is out of the slalom. Man. U.S. finally got their first gold medal. 36-year-old snowboarder Lindsay Jacobellis won the snowboard cross. A great story in that 4 Olympic Games ago in 2006, she had a huge lead entering the final run in this very same event and was crushing the run. And very late in the run, showboated and fell and ended up getting a silver medal. Then in the 2010, 2014, and 2018 games, she finished 5th, 7th, and 4th. Now, in undoubtedly her last Olympics at 36, she crushed it and got gold.
That's cool.
Now you can hang up the board,
right,
if you will. 7 medals for the U.S. so far in the games, 1 gold, 5 silver, and a bronze.
Showboating just cost her 16 years of hell.
But listen, you got to admit, if you're going to have a 1st, a 2nd, a 4th, a 5th, and a 7th, you'd like to have the one at the end.
Absolutely.
Baseball, there's actually a lot going on. The owners are meeting today, day 2 in Orlando. Players are having meetings in Arizona. Then they'll fly to Florida. The commissioner is expected to speak tomorrow. Out in Los Angeles, they say no charges for Trevor Bauer. Dodgers pitcher Trevor Bauer, no charges. Now, Major League Baseball could still suspend him, and he has 2 years left on his Dodgers deal. The expectation is the Dodgers will release him as soon as they can. And finally, remember that Tyler Skaggs, the pitcher for the Angels, found dead in a hotel room a couple years ago?
Trial starting.
Right. And it turns out that he was taking some drugs. Well, the case got underway yesterday, and the defense claims that one of the former Angels players was the one giving him the drugs, and they named Matt Harvey. So with that was
the starting five every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
29 minutes before the hour. Ben Mahler, Fox Sports, next on Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Told you.
Hello.
Ben, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's up?
What did she say?
Hello?
Hold on.
All right.
I think so.
They don't got their headphones. Say hi to Ben.
Yo, what's up?
Morning.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
Good.
Great, man.
I just tweeted out you're squeezing us in like juice before your workout. Is that still true?
Yes. Although still, everything's still wonky out here, so it's kind of working out at home, not the actual gym anymore. But that's supposed to change next week, hopefully. So,
Man, it's so weird being here, Ben, because we're in another world.
Well, you guys are living like your best possible life, but I'm jealous. Trust me. I wish I was living in Florida, but what are you gonna do?
I don't know.
The good news is most of these people, they go to the games, they require the masks and all that. Most people are like, ignore it once they get in, but still pretty crazy out here.
It was weird a little over a week ago to see how many people were wearing masks outdoors.
Oh yeah, well that's just like that. I watch the people driving around by themselves wearing masks and like with the windows up, and I'm like, what are we doing here? It's like, come on, it's crazy. But there's a lot of people, man. You know how it goes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they're that way here too. I'm with you, Ben. The people in the cars with the masks on. I'm waiting to see one having a cigarette with the mask on in the car. That would be.
I'm sure that's happening somewhere, but it's pretty wild, man. It's like, I'm over it. It's been long enough. But
yeah.
Have you guys had COVID yet? I had COVID in December, so I survived.
I never tested for it, but I'm pretty sure I had it because I lost taste for 5 days way back when, like May of 2020, when this thing first started.
You probably did. I had it right when I was on vacation. I take like the last week and a half at the end of the year off, and I had it. And I was like, oh yeah. But it wasn't too bad.
So I'm assuming Ben's in LA.
Yes.
Gotcha.
We have a young new producer, Ben, and as you can tell, he's on top of things.
He's right there,
You
man.
know, there's no doubt. But Ben, he's the future of our industry. So, fill in the blank.
That's right. He'll be programming a radio station.
In no time.
Or consulting them. Right.
Oh, that's the word. You don't want to be a consultant. That's the worst. Jeez. Avoid that. Are you guys at home or are you in the studio?
No, we're back in studio and whole thing now.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's added a fourth affiliate. So we're on in 4 stations in Florida now, adding a 5th in hopefully another 3 weeks.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah,
that's
thank
great,
you.
Man. That's awesome. I'm happy for you guys.
Yeah, we're pretty excited. This is working out all right so far. Knock on wood.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful, man. You guys you're killing it. So keep doing it for sure.
What do we got,
Absolutely.
Felipe?
Oh, we got about a minute.
Holy cow.
Uh-oh.
We ran a little long on our second segment there, Ben. Sorry.
That's all right. I don't mind. I'm sure it was wonderful. What were we talking about?
It was kind of like our Sports Center. Like normally we do it now, so we just moved it up a segment.
Did you guys see I don't know if you I've been struggling to watch the NBA, but the Nets fell behind 28-2 last night to
Yes.
the Celtics.
Yes, at one point in the first quarter, it was 28-2.
How do you, if you're trying, I know they didn't have their stars, but if you're trying, you should not fall behind 28-2. I don't buy it. It's crazy.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah. Pretty bad.
All right. We got 40 seconds.
All right.
All right. Everyone quiet.
Down in front.
Yes, I see Ben's had the young producer before too at some point in his career.
This is like right before the movie starts. Everybody take your seat.
15 seconds.
Stop eating.
All right. Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
23 minutes before the top of the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network, and on some of these affiliates, well, we follow Ben Mahler from Fox. He does overnights. He does them out in Los Angeles. You can follow Ben on Twitter at Ben Mahler, Maller. Ben, it's David and Mark once again. Hope you have been well. How are you?
Guys, I am great. I'm excited. It's Super Bowl week. There's a lot of weird people that are driving around LA. Actually, not right now because no one's driving around LA right now. But it's an exciting time, guys. It's the Rams and Bengals. They could put anyone in the Super Bowl. It's a big deal. So I hope you guys are doing well too.
We are. How is LA as far as being ready for the Super Bowl? Are they fired up about this? I mean, they're not fired up about the Rams or the Chargers all that much. Are they fired up about the big game?
Well, it depends. As you guys know, LA is pretty spread out, so it depends where you go. And they did spend a lot of money, guys, to clean out. There's a massive homeless problem out here, and so before the NFL got to town for the Super Bowl, they were trying to clean it up to make it look a little more presentable when all these aristocrats and the moguls and the robber barons come in on their private planes and all that for the weekend. Because from what I understand, most things really get going Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and all that. But they've been trying to clean it up a little bit, but it's a big problem, and there are people excited. The Rams have more fans than the Chargers, and there are people fired up. There's generations of Ram fans. The problem is, guys, the Rams left for 20 years, so they left a whole generation of fans behind who grew up without the Rams. But yeah, there's a little bit of juice for the Rams. It's a Super Bowl after all.
This may sound strange. Bigger game with a local team in it, or would it be bigger if it were the Niners?
See, I don't even know if it's the Niners. I was at the NFC Championship game, and it was 65% 49er fans. But the most popular team in Los Angeles is the Raiders. And that is the team. If the Raiders ever made a Super Bowl and it was in L.A., oh, my goodness. The problem is nobody can afford the tickets. The common man cannot afford the ticket, right? You got to have a whole bunch of cash, or you got to know somebody, especially with the way the Super Bowl tickets go. But yeah, by far the Raiders, I would say, have the most fans of any NFL team. But the Niners did very well. There were a lot of people from Northern California that made the drive down for the game. And it didn't matter in the end because the Rams won the game anyway in the fourth quarter, but they spent a lot of money and they seemed to have a good time. They thought they were going to a coronation before the game. They were running around like they owned the place.
I take it you guys are staying in studio and not doing the Radio Row thing this week, because I do think it would be fantastic. I saw some of the East Coast morning shows starting Radio Row at 3:00 in the morning yesterday. There's no one in that room. I could just imagine you guys overnights taking over Radio Row with no one in there creating complete havoc.
Yeah, so Radio Row, guys, is at the LA Convention Center, which is, if you've never been to LA, it's right near where the Lakers and Clippers play. It's right next door to what used to be called Staples Center, which is now the Crypto Arena. And I was in negotiations, guys, with management at Fox about doing the show from there, but I was advised by consultants that you don't want to go there because there's no one there. This is like a security guard. I would have had fun. I would have interviewed the security guard that was keeping track of everything. I thought that would have been great, but management did not agree. So I am going to be making an appearance. I'm scheduled, assuming I do not have COVID, I have to take a COVID test today. The NFL's got all these rules you have to take to show up there. And so if I pass that on Friday, I will be making my first ever appearance at Radio Row, but only for a couple of hours. And after that, I think they're going to kick me out. So I'll see how that goes.
Hold on a second. You've never done Radio Row before?
No, I've been in radio a long time. I'm not one of the cool kids. I don't get invited to these things. So I've mostly done overnight radio. So they don't like the overnight people. You guys are big morning guys.
Oh, stop it.
Those of us that do overnight, it's a different world there, which I'm fine with. We have a loyal following on the overnight show, but I was hoping to do at least a couple shows out there, but it did not work out. But as you guys said, it's pretty dead there. 3 a.m. LA time when the show would end. So not much going on.
Although I got to say, the security guard interview would be riveting.
Yes.
I think the fun you could have at something like that. But once again, consultants have no idea what fun is. And that probably ruined that right from the get-go.
Ben, start making your case. Next year, it's in Arizona. And then after that, it's in Vegas. So it's going to be 3 West Coast, if you will, Super Bowls in a row. So start making your case for security guard radio in the next 2 years.
Yeah, not only security guards, guys. I mean, there are people that have to clean the toilets and all that stuff. Those people need to be heard, too. We don't need to hear from every 1980s athlete that's going around trying to sell some product. We can talk to the regular people. I'd be more than happy to do that.
Not to mention, at some point, the homeless are going to get out, and you got to have a man on the streets to talk to some of the real people in LA to see the actual story of what's going on. You guys are still a little closed down. We get confused here in Florida with that, but all the other stuff, like the interactive NFL stuff, is that going on? Is that getting any juice down there as far as, the other things that are happening outside of the game?
Yeah, so they have right near Radio Row, they have the traditional Super Bowl, NFL experience, I think they call it there. And so it's massive. They've taken over that big convention center, and the tickets for that are like $20. One of my producers, Roberto, went to it, and he said it was great. It was only $20 to get in, but of course they take you to the cleaners on parking, and you can't bring in any food from the outside. So I think he spent like $60 on a couple of hot dogs and some drinks and like something else. So they really stick it to you food wise and all that. But I've heard it's pretty nice. I hope to check it out over the next couple of days there myself. Maybe I can weasel my way in with having to avoid having to pay the amount, but we'll see. But I've heard it's pretty nice. The NFL, they do that stuff pretty good. There's not a lot of stuff they do pretty well, but that's one of the things they get right.
Ben Maller, Fox Sports Radio, kind enough to join us once again here on the Florida Sports Network. Follow Ben on Twitter at Ben Maller, Maller. All right. This is a big 5-year push now by the Rams. Don't know how much longer it's going to last with this core, but this is a big 5-year push to establish the franchise again in Los Angeles. Does the outcome of the game matter, Ben, in your estimation, as to the short-term future of the Rams in LA, so that next time they play the Niners, maybe it's a 50-50 crowd?
Yeah, so that's not going to happen. But it is a case where the Rams were in the Super Bowl, as you guys are well aware. A couple years ago, they played the Patriots in Tom Brady's last Super Bowl with the Patriots, and it didn't go well. It was a terrible game. The Rams had nothing going on offense in that game, and they lost a close game. It was a close game going to the fourth quarter. So you got to win. It is important to win. This is their second Super Bowl in 5 years with Sean McVay as the coach. And so winning would matter. But it's like I talked about the second point here with the generation thing. It's really going to take the Rams probably 25 years or so back in LA to establish the next generation of fans. Like the kids right now that are 7, 8, 9, 10 years old that are going to grow up and like the Rams because they're good when they were kids. And it takes a long time. So, yeah, there'll be a few people that'll cross over that like other teams that'll become Ram fans. But ultimately, they just got to stick around and not move. The Rams have been a very transient franchise over the years. They've been in LA most of the time, but they, St. Louis, before they got to LA, they were in the Midwest. So before that, and so they've bounced all over the place. But yeah, they got to win because LA is a town that loves the winners, but every town loves the winner, but LA especially. And I love what they're doing, though, guys. I know I've talked to you guys a few months ago. I love the fact that they're not just depending on draft picks, the Rams, and they're willing to trade picks. And there's another way. You don't have to just keep draft picks and hoard draft picks. You can get veteran players and put a championship team on the field.
It is the fascinating part about this game because you have one team that's pushed their chips to the middle over and over again in the Rams, and then you have the Bengals who, well, they got Joe Burrow. I don't know how much else they've done right between Chase and Burrow because they don't like to spend a lot of money, but it is an interesting. I want to mention that you brought up Brady. I love Tom Brady. I bought my Bucs season tickets holders the minute he signed with Tampa Bay. But isn't this a little Sugar Ray Leonard? You retire one week and the next week you're already making a comeback.
Yeah, it was great, right? You didn't really. Jim Gray asked him the question on that podcast, and he's like, "Oh, you never say never." And it doesn't. I don't know what you guys said, but my belief is that Brady got his arm twisted. It's like he didn't really want to retire. He wanted to play one more year with the Bucs, and Gisele's like, "Hey, you got to retire. You got to retire." He's like, "Finally, okay, I'll retire." But I think he comes back, but he's going to have to come back like next season. I don't see him missing a year. Some have said he'll come back when he's 46 or whatever it is after that. But I think if he comes back next year. But he sounded like every other athlete. You guys have followed sports a long time. All these guys that retired, Brett Favre, a bunch of boxers, as you said, and these guys retire, and they're like, well, no, I want to come back. And Brady had always said every year, and I did some radio stuff in Boston for a while. He was on that station every week, and he'd be asked all the time, when are you going to retire? And he always said he wanted to play until he was like 45, and he wanted to play until he was terrible. And he's not 45, and he's not terrible. So that's what he said his entire life. Now, I know people change and people evolve and all that stuff, but I believe ultimately he will play next season in the NFL. I think that he's already, as you said, already wavering on what he wants to do. And once we get closer to the summertime, like July, August, right around that time, we'll be like, wait a minute, I can still play. And somebody's going to get hurt inevitably, and they're going to call Brady up, and one thing will lead to another, right?
Ben, I will say I heard a fascinating trade idea yesterday, and Ben, you know me a little bit. I'm willing to trade anyone, anywhere, anytime. All right, but the suggestion was the Niners call up the Bucs and say, we'll give you Jimmy G for a first-round pick and the rights to Brady.
I like it. I like it. Now, I don't know if you're the Bucs, if you want, Jimmy G, right?
Right. I mean, but they need a quarterback. And obviously, Tom's a Northern California guy, grew up Joe Montana and the Niners, and just throwing that one out there that, hey, he's probably retired, but, that might intrigue him enough that if you're the Niners, you're like, we'll just take his rights just in case Trey Lance gets hurt, that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, either Trey Lance gets hurt or it doesn't live up to the hype, right? You don't know. You have no idea because he really hasn't played that much, whether he can actually handle it. But there's I think I came up with roughly five teams that Brady, if he's going to come back, they're teams that are ready-made teams, like the Tennessee Titans, I even going back to the Bucks, right? If things go right, the Bucks have a good offseason, the team's still strong. That division is so bad. The Bucks division, my goodness. I mean, they're going to challenge the NFC East.
100%, Ben, because Matt Ryan's the best quarterback in the division if Brady's not playing in it.
Yeah, I mean, but you got Carolina. The Saints don't have any. We'll see what these teams do, but the Saints don't have a quarterback.
Right.
It's a mess. But the Bucks possibly could come back. Even the Patriots, if Mac Jones were to get hurt, that would be awkward. The Tennessee Titans are there. I'd throw the Rams out too because of the team. Next year they should be still put together to win. So there's only a few teams. The Niners also, as you guys said, with that trade. So, but it is complicated because of the contract, and you got to think the Bucks would allow Brady to go. If he wanted to come back, they'd allow him to come back and go somewhere.
All right. I don't know if you've thought about the game much yet, but if you have, what do you think? Rams, Bengals.
Yeah, so I like the Rams to win, but as a gambler, I'm a little gun shy with that 4.5 point spread because I think it'll be a close game. These are pretty similar teams. I think it'll come down to the fourth quarter. Unless Joe Burrow just poops the bed and just has a terrible performance. Of course, I guess you could argue Matthew Stafford has that occasionally where he goes out and throws a bunch of interceptions, but I think it's more likely that Burrow would be that guy in the Super Bowl. So I think it's a close game. I think these are pretty even teams. It'll come down to the fourth quarter. So from a gambling standpoint, I like getting the 4.5, but I think the Rams will end up winning, and people will have to deal with Odell Beckham being a Super Bowl champion, which will annoy a lot of the New York media that said you can't win with a guy like Odell Beckham. And I know the people in Cleveland are still upset that the way he left and all that, and all the other storylines around the Rams. But I think the Rams will end up winning.
He's Ben Maller overnights on Fox Sports Radio nationally. You can follow Ben on Twitter at Ben Maller, Maller. Hey, Ben, all the best to you. Get out there and enjoy Radio Row on Friday. And maybe off air, we'll tell you our Cowherd Radio Row story.
I look forward to that. I need to hear all the dirt I can hear on my coworkers. Guys, continued success, guys. Continued success.
Thanks, Ben.
Ben Maller, kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
It's the last time we had Cowherd on the show.
Yeah.
That was it.
Tampa? No, Miami.
Second trip to Miami.
Right.
Okay.
It was the Colts Saints Super Bowl. Very quickly, Cowherd's with ESPN still. And he is kind of like Ben. It's kind of like, okay, you're going to show up on this day and you're going to do, and he knew us. He had come on our show quite often over the years. And so he sees us, and it's kind of the end of his shift, if you will, on the floor. And he's hungry and he's tired. And we go, we can get you food. And in fact, they're serving drinks right over there. And he goes, really? And it's like 5:30.
Yep.
He's been there since 2. And so we got him a couple drinks and some food for him and the people who were with him, actually. And they're all sitting around and what have you. And he does 30 minutes with us. He's great. And there's an Orlando station right next to us.
Begging us to get him, begging us.
And so we say, fine, when we're done with them, you can have them at 6:00. And they go, oh, thank you so much. So he takes what's left of his drink over, sits down, does 20 minutes with them. They rat him out for drinking.
And that was the end of Colin Cowherd on affiliates.
Yeah.
Flat out.
Yeah. Miller and Moulton. Now we have to tell that story to Ben.
He might have just listened. You never know.
Here on the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Get your tickets at gpstpete.com to secure the best seats.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Wait, so that again, I'm so sorry, but the person that you were just referring to was Coward that got ratted out for drinking?
Yes.
Huh. But the Orlando station ratted it out, or like,
Yes.
what the hell happened?
Exactly it.
What a bunch of you know what's.
Yeah.
So how often would you have Coward on the show? Like, was this a regular guest?
I would say we probably, back in the day, we would have Colin on once a quarter, once every 6 months, but we had him on semi-regularly. When he first jumped on ESPN, it was about a year or so, not even maybe 6 months after he came on ESPN, David and I started working together.
And would you have him talk football?
Football, about everything. He was a regular guest, and
Right.
he went on. He even said on his national show, he goes, "I only do 4 shows. I do the John Kincaid show." He was in Atlanta,
Right.
and he mentioned 2 other shows, and then he never mentioned us by name. He's, and my guys down in Fort Myers, I go on with them whenever they ask.
That's cool.
I think it was 04 that he replaced Stan Patrick, and we weren't together yet, but he talked college football. He was the only national sports radio guy to talk college football, and we got him right away. It was on the air a few weeks. We called, got him, and he started coming on like every 6-8 weeks, and he'd do 15, 20 minutes. And then we joined forces, and he kept doing it. And so we probably did 5 years of Colin Cowherd.
Wow.
Probably 6. In fact, we brought him down for an appearance.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, when he wrote his
Yes.
first book, he came down and did a book signing that was a home run.
Yes.
Like his number one
Huge.
book signing that he did in the country was in Naples, Florida at the Barnes and
And-
Noble.
and
They
we
were out the
arranged it.
doors waiting, and we set the whole thing
arranged
up.
it. Yes.
So he loved us.
Yes.
That's so
Bought
cool.
a place in Naples for a couple of years.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the radio show in Orlando ruined it.
What a bunch of
Yeah. Total
D-bags.
BS move.
Holy
Little jealous that, and part of it was I think they waited a long time because Colin sat with us that day for damn near an hour.
And it's because he got to us early. Like he staggered over around 5:10, and he was coming on around 5:30. And he didn't want to jam in another interview before us. And he was tired and he was hungry. And then we took care of him. And he literally was sitting there eating and drinking.
Yeah, he had 2 Grey Gooses. I know what he had to drink because he's like, they have a bar?
It's
And
racist.
John's like, what do you want?
But he
He's
was
like,
there all afternoon.
Right.
He got there after lunch. He was
And-
there over 4 hours.
But I mean, he goes, because he was funny. He had his drink and he crinkled it
yeah.
so the ice, and he goes,
Right.
That's alcohol, folks. And I mean, he made
On
no
the
bones.
air,
But he
right.
made no bones. But the man had 2 drinks over the course of an hour.
I mean, it's Radio Row at the Super Bowl. And what? That was the Saints Colts Super Bowl
Yeah.
in Miami?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, we're in the convention center.
Come on.
We're in Nixon.
No, that was the first. We weren't in the convention center. We were in the Lauderdale Convention Center for the second one. Were they both at the convention center?
I thought they were both.
No, you're right. We stayed. The first time we stayed in Miami. The next time we stayed in
Right.
DFE and
I
had to
know.
drive.
Sucked.
That's right.
You should have.
Oh, wow.
We had game Felipe the first time we were in Miami. We stayed on South Beach.
5 seconds.
Okay.
Oof.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no, the two of us.
Yeah.
Oh no, we closed.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Minute and a half past the hour. Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Hump Day edition of Miller and Moulton. Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Thanks so much for being with us. David Samson, former president of the Miami Marlins, to join us in a little more than 30 minutes time. A lot going on, actually, in the baseball world with nothing going on at the same time. It was kind of like sports during the pandemic. There was nothing going on, and yet we were doing 3 hours every morning with a ton to talk about, which in theory made no sense. But then once you start talking, you realize, man, this onion just keeps peeling.
This baseball thing, I'm fired up to talk to David Samson because there are so many layers of this. And as you said yesterday on our show, these owners' meetings better get something in front of the players that's a real counter proposal.
Well, you know what I am glad about? That the national media in the last 48 hours has figured out the timeline. I mean, we have been talking for a while, like, yeah, if they don't have a deal by the end of February, there is no opening day baseball. Forget spring training. You'll be lucky if you get a game of spring training. Honestly, I think spring training in Florida and Arizona is done.
And I don't, but it's on life support. And at best, it's going to be a shortened 2-week spring training.
And I think 2 weeks is your best case scenario.
Now, I don't know if there's any actual games that people go to. You know, I don't know the whereabouts. I just believe from the way David Samson spoke to us the last time we had him on that he said he understood and they understand the importance of spring training, that they need a little bit of a spring training is the other thing that he kept emphasizing.
Right. That last time they did 2 weeks and it wasn't enough. And so now they realize they need 3 to 4. Well, just do the math. I mean, if they get a deal by the end of this month, you know, February 28th, March 1st, which is basically 3 weeks away, like 19, 20 days away. And remember, right now, these guys, they can't agree when they both want the DH.
I mean, just slow down and think about this for a second. Both leagues want to institute, or both sides want to institute, a universal designated hitter. It is the easiest thing that they both agree on. They can't do it.
And so yet they're going to cover all the issues that they disagree on in less than 3 weeks' time to get a deal, so that then you got to remember they have to finish the offseason. You have more free agents out there than were signed before December 1st and 2nd. So Major League Baseball has to come to terms on a draft. They've got to have an offseason still. They have to get all the visas for all the international players to get everybody into Florida and Arizona at some point in March. And then opening day is supposed to be March 28th. And remember, the owners aren't giving up games. Well, just shorten the season. They're like, hell no, that's money. We're playing 162, baby.
162 is key for the owners because the television money is wrapped around that. And while the national deals are what they are, they make boatloads of money in their regional cable deals. And they're not going to give that up. I mean, it's that simple. That's where the bread's buttered, is with the TV deals for 162. They will do everything within their power to get 162 on the table.
And so I'm just glad that in the last 48 hours that the national media was able to do the math. I mean, I am. Also, in the last 48 hours, they came to the conclusion that spring training's not going to start on time. Oh, wow. That's you guys are really paying attention.
And David's not joking, because the one thing this little Florida Sport Network has done has caused us to go to a handful of meetings. And Miller and Moulton are not good in meetings most of the time.
Right.
And unfortunately, we've been good in these meetings because we've been talking about, they're talking about all these things we should be doing around spring training. And we sit there and kindly go, okay, but there's not going to be a spring training.
Right.
And then they look at us. And I mean, they've been looking at us like, what in the hell are you two talking about? So I think David and I just personally are happy that the word has come out nationally that spring training might be delayed, because we've only been telling people in Southwest Florida and up near the Tampa area that we've been talking to for the last 6 months that this could happen.
Now, I have to applaud the, what's the word I'm looking for? The enthusiasm of the Atlanta Braves, who are still planning a week from Saturday to have an event at their spring training complex in Northport. They're going to bring the World Series trophy. I mean, there's not going to be any current players that are at it, but who knows? Maybe they get Chipper, who, comes to all these things. And
they've got this other guy that shows up once in a while too. But yeah,
and then maybe, I don't know, Tom Glavine. I mean, who knows? So, but they're still planning on having it in like 10 days at their spring training complex in Northport. I say Northport. You look on the internet, they call it Venice. Okay. I think, I don't know. I don't know if they're fighting over it or if for real estate purposes they're wanting to claim one town over the other. I thought it was Northport.
Yeah, we'll have to do a little R&D because we are expected to be there a week from Saturday.
A week from Saturday. So, and
it's our first appearance out.
It is under the Florida Sports Network umbrella. That is true. So, and I'm curious just to see, first off, anybody going to show up? Not because of us, but just because, usually a baseball team has an event, the World Series trophy and all that, or whether or not baseball fans like, you know what, I'm sick of all this. I really am.
Oh, I think they'll show up because last year there was no one at spring training games. No one's really seen this stadium yet. I think there'll be quite a few people curious. People love to see a stadium, especially when they don't have to pay for it.
Well, and because you worked for a franchise that won the Stanley Cup, and the cup made its way through, the lower levels of the organization, and it showed up, and, people love to take pictures with a trophy. If they're a fan. Now, you could argue the Stanley Cup's the most famous trophy in all of sport, but, if you're a Braves fan and there's the World Series trophy there, I mean, it is the first one in 26 years. I could see being excited, getting a picture taken with it.
Absolutely. I remember when the cup came here to Southwest Florida, my boy was the first time. We had a couple times. The first time my boy was 3 or 4, and Phil Pritchard, the keeper of the cup, came in, and we made a few radio appearances with the cup, and he was going to take it back to the hotel with him. And Frank Lapsley, who ran the building, said, Frank says, we've got a vault and a safe here. We can keep it here. And Pritchard was ecstatic because he didn't want to have to haul it back to the hotel room. And he's like, really, I got to see it first. So we took him down, locked the safe, and he's like, good. Pritchard left. We unlocked the safe and hauled the cup out. And Frank called his wife, and I called mine and said, get the kids down here now. And they didn't know. They're 3 and 4, 2 and 3 at the time. And we were literally putting candy in the cup so they would climb up on the cup and take candy out of the cup so we could take photos.
Nice. Those are great photos to have.
Absolutely.
Then your son grows up to be a big hockey fan too, so that's even better. But so that's some of where baseball's at. Plus there's some very serious off the field things going on in baseball. So David Samson talk about that coming up in what is now about 25 minutes time. Super Bowl 56, both teams are in Los Angeles. The money apparently ever so slowly coming in on the Rams. The line having inched up a smidge Got to admit, though, with the way the playoffs have gone, I mean, 5 of the last 6 playoff games, Mark, decided by 3 points.
Right. I mean, your safe bet is under and take the points right now based on the way these games have gone.
Yes. Yes.
And Ben Maller, who was just on the show a moment ago, said the same thing. Is I like the Rams, but as a bettor, that number's starting to get a little scary at 4.5.
I will say, I don't know many people who think Cincinnati's the better team, yet I think by now, in his young athletic career, that people are very hesitant to bet against Joe Burrow. And it goes back to, it's kind of like the Joe, he keeps getting compared to Joe Montana by a lot of people. But, it's like when Montana came out of Notre Dame, what was he? He was a winner. A winner. And then sure enough, he's quarterback for the Niners, and he didn't play his rookie year, and he started playing midway through his second year because they did things differently a couple generations ago. Very rarely did quarterbacks play right out of college. They oftentimes sat for 2-3 years. But in Montana's case, he sat for 1.5 years behind Steve DeBerg, learned Bill Walsh's system, and took over midseason 1980. But his first full season was 81. And then they go on to win the Super Bowl. And the legend was born professionally. But remember, he already had established himself at Notre Dame, helped lead them to a national title, had the miraculous chicken soup Cotton Bowl comeback against Houston, down 21 in the fourth quarter, in the sleet and what have you, and led them to a win when, those New Year's Day bowl games were huge.
Well, Notre Dame's even more so.
Right. So, and I sense people hesitant to bet against Burrow. Feel the Rams are better, but somehow feel that number 9 in Cincinnati is going to figure out a way to get it done.
I just have trouble thinking that this offensive line, and I know that they've been able to get away with it thus far. I think this is the best defensive front that they've faced. I think it's the best defense that they've faced in this postseason, and I think that's going to be a big difference for Joe Burrow come Sunday.
Rams lately have not given up a lot of rushing yards. And remember, the Niners couldn't run the ball on them. So if Cincinnati can't run the ball with Joe Mixon and they can't pass protect, can they still win?
It's a hell of a question. The fact of the matter is, even without those things, Burrow seems to have the ability, not just with Chase, but with all of his receivers, to make plays. Which tight end's able to play?
Well, it looks as if the Bengals tight end's definitely going to play.
Well, I think that's big.
Higbee with the Rams is more of a question mark.
But I do think that's big. That's a chip. That's a
safety valve.
A safety valve pass, absolutely.
13 minutes after the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Wow. Volleyball coach at Michigan State. You want to take a guess at what she makes? I'm just happen to see an article, and I'm more concerned because they're going to redo Jennison. So I wanted to see what they were saying about it. But they've got her salary in here. You want to take a guess?
Volleyball coach at Michigan State.
Which, by the way, they're good, if that means anything. And they actually draw about 2,000 a game. 335. She just signed a 5-year deal for 1.6, basically. Like I said, I was just curious. The new AD says that's the number one project, is redoing Jennison for the Olympic sports, essentially. That's cool.
Okay.
It's a cool building. Because it's old, it's old as hell. So, Adam Spitz, how far is this? Yeah, he is, Adam. How far is this Pop Sunset Grill from where the stadium is? North? Oh, goodness. Oh, see, I don't. Yeah.
NBC does have the game, yes.
So you mean the short track is what you're talking about?
That was you, Moulton. Thought it was someone else.
Watch out! He's got get away from the top speed!
We're watching speed skating right now.
We're not just watching it. Moulton and I are riveted to it. Don't kid yourself.
We are locked in right now.
Why is the U.S. girl wearing black and white?
I have no idea.
That is interesting.
Because the whole time I thought the U.S. girl was the one in blue. Anybody else?
Only because of the number, and they went close up one time, and I saw that she was 8.
missed
but otherwise, yeah, with you, I'm like, wait, the one in third.
The one in red, white, and blue is not racing for the United States. Okay.
No, the blue is Italian.
Yeah.
It seems.
Right, whose national flag is red, white, and green.
Right. But I don't know. They have a lot of
blue in their soccer.
their
I know.
soccer,
I
yeah.
know.
I don't know. She's got getting away from the cop speed. "30 seconds.
She's got, as ZZ Top once said, she's got legs.
They all do.
The Olympics has to be like the best background noise.
Although no crowd this year.
Or
There's
just
nobody
like
there.
you throw something on the TV. The Olympics are on.
Oh, yes.
Walk past the TV. Holy crap. And then you keep going. All right, we're coming back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"20 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. About 5 weeks away from the NCAA tournament. I think 5 weeks yesterday is when it gets underway with the
Play-in
games. I think I've got my math right. I think. Maybe I'm off a week, but I think I got
Sounds
it
right. Usually St. Patty's Day weekend is when things get started.
St. Patrick's Day, I think this year, first full day of the tournament.
Right. That's a Thursday. So,
Right.
yeah, I think your math's
So
right.
I think 5 weeks yesterday is when the play-in games begin.
You know what we're not going to be able to do on it here in Florida?
I know.
Bet on it.
Huh. Listen, you ain't going to be able to bet on the 2023 tournament either.
Well, and I wonder just how far behind Florida's getting, because in the last few days, Minnesota has said, you know what? I think we need to legalize sports betting. North Carolina said, you know what we need to do? Probably legalize sports betting, because we're falling behind. Those are the words that, in fact, Roy Cooper said, it's time for us to step up and do it. The governor of North Carolina.
Gotcha. Okay.
And our governor stepped up and did it illegally.
Right.
And there's just no two ways about it. It's been proven as such.
Yeah. This isn't a Republican Democrat thing. He screwed up.
There's a lot of things I'm a fan of Governor DeSantis for. This one I'm not. He screwed this up royally. And it's going to cost the state of Florida a ton of money.
Mark, what's your definition of a ton?
Probably $1 billion by the time we get this legalized.
I would go higher.
Okay.
But
by the way,
yes.
I just threw out a B, and David went over, and we're not being flippant.
No. Third most populous state. You start looking at what the other states are doing in terms of revenue, and you realize the money that is being lost because the rollout, if you will, of sports betting in Florida was done improperly. That's all. Now, can you still go on site? Can you go to a Hard Rock casino? Can you go?
I would think so.
And bet in person.
Because the mobile gambling was what was
Right,
nixed. And
was
that's
shut
where all the
down.
money is.
Right. Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, there are a handful of places throughout the state that you could go to in person and bet, but that is obviously not convenient. Like the Mattress Mac guy. I mean, he literally drove across the border from Texas into Louisiana, pulled over on the side of the road, waited for his phone to realize where he was. And once the phone said, yeah, we're in Louisiana, you can mobile bet here, he placed a $4.5 million bet on the side of the road on his phone, did a U-turn, and went back home.
And from the looks of it, Alabama won't beat Florida, but Georgia very well may now.
A lot of money in that state, too. Got the city called Atlanta. A lot of people moving. A lot of people moving to Tennessee who can drive over the border and place bets there. Because I don't think they have it in Tennessee.
No, they
do
don't.
No.
I reminisce about that 2-3 week period that it was legal.
Oh.
We talked about it every single day.
Well,
I made a bet every single day.
Every single day.
A good friend of ours who had never bet before during that, was it about 5 weeks? Maybe a touch longer even, but just got into it. Now, it helps the first couple times you place a bet if you actually win. All right, that makes you like it more. And he did. He even hit a parlay. Well, once that happens, you're hooked.
It's like winning the first hand in poker. You're in a lot of trouble after that.
That's like being at the blackjack table and splitting tens and winning both. It's like, oh, roll up the sleeves, order some drinks. We're going to be here a while.
I made 3 bets. I was over 3.
So that, to me, every day I see another state that is making the run at gambling and apparently going to do it legally. And every day I cringe because the opportunity that was in front of the state of Florida was screwed up. And the governor backed the Seminoles. It was the wrong choice. He believed something that he thought, obviously, his people told him was going to be legal, when in fact it had never been legal anywhere before. Like, I don't even know how we got to the point we got to. Because when a dummy like me can start looking up Indian Gaming Regulation Acts and seeing from the get that this had zero chance, I'm not that bright.
1 out of every 10 Americans is expected to place a legal bet on the Super Bowl. They're projecting between 31.5 to 35 million people will place a bet on the Super Bowl, and that they will wager $7.6 billion, which is up 78% from just a year ago.
Now, I want to ask you a question about that statistic. Does that include like homemade bets, or is that just
No, that's
bets
No,
through
no, no,
legal
no, no.
bets.
That doesn't include squares and
Right.
Mark
and bookies. It doesn't include
no.
me calling my guy and putting $50
No.
on the Rams.
No.
This
Exactly.
is legal betting.
legal betting. This is according to the American Gambling
Right.
Association. They are guesstimating 31.5 million Americans, which is just under 1 out of every 10.
right?
7.6 billion. Last year it was around 4 and change. Well, aren't we over 30 states now? Aren't we at 30, 31 states that can legally?
And from the
Sports
list, I don't
wager.
think you can bet in Florida, period,
It's
from what
that-
I'm looking at.
It's that many?
Yeah.
I thought it was less.
No,
Well,
gotta-
the numbers are growing now.
It's moving
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, just during the NFL season, there were like 6 states that during the course of the season legalized it.
I just counted from a quick article that there's 15 from an article that says where you can bet legally. I just counted 15 states. Now it could be more than that, but that's what I was getting. So I'm not completely certain.
Because New York, you can now do it.
30,
So
including 18 that allow online sports wagering.
8 billion going to be bet on the Super Bowl.
yeah, pretty much.
None of it in Florida.
legally.
None of it in Florida, gang.
None of it in Florida. Now, one of the interesting factors is, once people start wagering on certain things, and obviously football is what they wager on the most, but you then start to see wagering on other things. Like, believe it or not, I got a press release. Mark, I don't know if you got one emailed to you, but somehow, some way, I got a press release from the American Ultimate Disc League, the AUDL.
They found us.
Yes.
They are all over me. I can't believe how many emails I get from that
Right.
group.
They would love for the commissioner of the AUDL to come on our show and talk about it, and talk about also the amount of gambling that is being placed on the American Ultimate Disc League.
Ultimate disc, like ultimate frisbee?
Yes.
That's what I'm guessing.
Not
Right. Yeah, I have no idea. I figured it wasn't, music related. I figured it was throwing a frisbee around or something like that. I don't know if it involves people, dogs. I have no idea. All I know is they really want to be on the show.
David, it's frisbee football.
Okay.
That's what it. I mean, they can put whatever name they want on this Ultimate Disc League. It's frisbee football.
That's exactly what it is.
And it's great.
It's great. It's fun.
I mean, I'm enamored by how well people can throw at frisbee, because most people can throw
Right.
the normal way, but when you start turning the wrist and
Yeah.
they're great. They really are.
Yeah,
Now,
it's fun.
I don't want to interview the guy. I couldn't care less, but I would go watch it. Like if there was an event somewhere nearby and the Ultimate Disc Finals were going on,
Hold
would
on.
you go?
You would watch it?
I'd go live in a heartbeat.
See, if I was at the park doing something and then all of a sudden, like a guy starts throwing, people start throwing frisbees around, or they're throwing a frisbee to their dog and what have you, I'll just stand for 15, 20 minutes and watch. But I am not going to go out of my way to go see this.
I would.
Okay. Would you gamble on it?
Yeah. I'd have a hacky sack in one pocket, a dugout in the other, and we'd be betting money on this thing.
Ooh, here's a proposal.
Don't you have to watch a decent amount of it to feel comfortable placing a wager on it?
David, did you have to watch a decent amount of dog races to make a legal wager on a dog race?
Well, no, you got numbers, you got colors,
Oh,
you got
really?
names.
Yeah.
Lucky red. Gotta go with red.
That was the one.
You never bet the 8 dogs in a dog race. You never bet 3 through 6.
You really go 1, 2, 7, 8.
1, 2,
box it
7,
and
8.
call
You
it
go
a day.
inside and outside. That's all you go. You leave the middle alone.
Never bet a 4 dog on a short track.
I'll propose this. Ultimate frisbee in the Pro Bowl. With NFL wide receivers, that would be something.
Listen,
Just mossing each other.
they got 8 million people to watch the Pro Bowl. I believe the statistic came out that it surpassed every NBA playoff game that wasn't the finals.
What?
Yes,
Yeah.
just listen
Yeah.
and learn.
Sorry.
It surpassed every Major League Baseball playoff game before the World Series, with the exception of Game 6 of the NLCS Braves-Dodgers, which turned out to be the deciding game, and the Yankees-Red Sox wild card game. So before the NBA Finals, the Pro Bowl beat all of the NBA playoffs from last year. Before the World Series, the Pro Bowl beat all but 2 baseball playoff games. And that's why, A, it's not going away, and B, they can do whatever they want with it. And apparently the same 7 to 8 million people are going to watch it instead of spend quality time with their family. Miller and Moulton. David Samson will avoid quality time with his family, and he will join us next here on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I can't believe the Pro Bowl doing more numbers than the NBA playoffs. That's ridiculous. That is the oil tycoon that is the NFL right there. I mean, that's absurd. I can't believe that it really did that much more than the NBA playoffs. Like that
Okay.
is the oil tycoon.
need
That
to-
is the NFL.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's insane.
This is where, and we all, by the way, are guilty of it. Like when Mark worked for the hockey team, and he worked for him for 7+ years. And so Mark gets let go. And it's in February of 2005. And he gets a job here shortly thereafter. So we end up seeing each other more in the whole deal. And I don't know if it was like 6 months later, 8 months later, or what have you. And out of nowhere, I forget where we were. We're having a beer somewhere. And Mark just turns to me and says, we all talk about being in a bubble sometimes. And when I worked over there, I thought everybody in Southwest Florida was aware of who we are, what we're doing, and we are the BFD. And now that I'm back out in the real world and what have you, I realize, well, there's a whole life out here that has nothing to do with the Florida Everblades.
And by the way, at that time, the Florida Everblades were selling out every game that they played.
71-81 for every game.
We sold out like over 100 games in a row when I was running that thing.
Man.
I had that ship running tight. And they still admit over there that no one ran that team better than I did. I got fired because Brush's wife hated me. That's a fact. I got my own. David and I are kings of getting in our own way.
Right. And so with them at their height, Mark gets about 6-8 months removed and realizes, wow, there's a whole life out here that doesn't involve anything having to do with that little area of the 239. And that's also something, by the way, where you go to school that they have never been. And we've only been saying it to them for 15 years.
Saying what?
That
nobody
you guys are
outside
in your
FGCU
own
cares
bubble.
about them.
And once you get past the Gulf Coast Town Center, nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
And they will not listen to us because they know everything. Just ask them.
Yeah, Ken must really hate me now because I've openly criticized him on Twitter and with other people. I'm like, I just think there needs to be changes there.
Chat, the reason why I think it's crazy is because the Pro Bowl sucks.
Yeah, but
it's the Pro Bowl, whatever. It's the NFL. I get it.
But there are a lot of people that don't like the NBA product for whatever reason.
But you'd rather watch the Pro Bowl than I get it. Again, I understand. But you would rather watch the Pro Bowl than
It's
NBA playoff
helmets and shoulder pads.
I know.
No, you don't know because you won't accept the reality.
Yeah, you're not
in America.
You're not accepting what the
2020s.
This gets frustrating, Philly. When we're giving you actual facts, these are numbers. This isn't opinions. This is fact, and you just said, "Well, that's not right." Well, yeah, it is.
No, I'm not saying that's not right. It's just, I don't know, man.
You can't relate to it, okay? But you got to remember, see, the NBA is about the cities. All right. That is where the NBA is popular. The NBA is popular in cities.
Yeah.
The NBA is popular where America is diverse.
I'm from a city.
Exactly. A city that has an NBA team also.
Yes.
So you're not just from a city.
Right.
You're from an NBA city
Yeah.
that in your lifetime has had great success.
Right. Not just an NBA city, a good, really good NBA city.
Yeah.
And you were a kid when they brought LeBron James in, the number one player on the planet. So you're very jaded with your NBA thought.
I was
Call
also
him. Do me a favor, call him. He just texted me.
$709, baby. Let's get some follows.
I also have faint memories of Shaq when they brought him on. That was cool.
Yeah, because Jake does. Jake had a Shaq jersey.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
23 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us, Miller and Moulton, on the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. He does a daily podcast. It is outstanding. It is called Nothing Personal with David Samson. That's because he is David Samson. You can follow him on Twitter at David, the letter P, Samson, former president of the Miami Marlins, who covers baseball also under the CBS Sports umbrella. David, it's David and Mark once again. Thanks for your time. Hope you are well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. Always happy to be here in the morning with you guys.
David, and we are always happy to have you. Ran into one of my neighbors walking. She's a Giants Mets fan. She just looked at me. She goes, "What the hell's going on? Are they going to play baseball? And what's the biggest problem?" So could you, for the baseball fan who's not necessarily aware, what are the 2 or 3 biggest issues that these sides have to figure out?
The biggest issue is that the players feel as though the last 2 collective bargaining agreements did not land in their favor. And they're trying to make things more even all in one fell swoop. And in collective bargaining, it's a process that goes over the course of years and decades. And it's very hard to claw back everything at once. So knowing that that's what the players want, it's hard to get. And that's the problem to start with. The second big issue is that the players want young players to get paid more money faster. Because the union, while we all think, all of your listeners think that every baseball player is rich. That's not true. The majority of baseball players make at or near the minimum, never make it to free agency, and barely even make it to arbitration, which means you're not even in the league 3 years. And the owners don't want to pay young players more because they're overpaying old players who aren't performing. So let me boil it down to something that you guys will all understand. Everybody wants to be the Rays from the ownership side, and no one wants anybody to be the Rays from the player side.
Which I believe lands you in Milwaukee. Is that the middle ground, I guess, between ownership and the players? Talking Major League Baseball with David Samson, the host of the Nothing Personal podcast. Follow him on Twitter at David, the letter P, Samson. All right. Last time, I think it was the last time you were on with us, that you and I sparred a little bit because I said, I don't think we're going to have any spring training. And you went, no, we're going to have some spring training. Okay. What are you thinking now?
I think we must have the best marriage ever because we're both going to end up being right. We are definitely going to have spring training because there's definitely going to be a season. But as I think I told you, and like in any good marriage where you probably weren't listening, I said spring training is not going to start on time, and it's likely the season is not going to start on time. And I've been saying that for years because this argument and fight that we're going through right now in baseball, this was in the works for the last 5 years. Literally the day after the agreement was signed in 2016, the players realized they had gotten their butts kicked. And so they've been gearing up for this for 5 years. So they've got all that pent-up aggression, and it's all coming out now. So there will be a season, there will be a postseason, but I do not believe it's going to start on March 31st.
I'm sorry, Mark. What did he say? I wasn't listening.
David, one of the things about this 162 is a big deal for the owners. These regional television contracts pay these teams a lot of money to air all of the games. You just said the season's probably not going to start on time. Will they still, how important is it for the owners to play 162?
That is a great question. The players are playing their hand wrong in this. While I agree with you in general, the owners want 162, but they would trade a good 5-year collective bargaining agreement to give up 10 or 20 games in year one of that agreement.
And the players wouldn't, right? Because their pay is based on 162 as well.
So now we're getting somewhere. Wouldn't it be amazing if at the end of this, the season can't be 162, but for the owners to get what they want and for the players to save face, the owners agree in the short term to pay the players their full 162-game salary this year, even though they're not playing 162 games, in return for not giving in on some of the major collective bargaining issues and therefore getting 5 years of a system that they like better, and the players get short-term relief by getting the full salary that they want in 2022.
David, do you agree with this statement, which is the owners are meeting right now in Orlando, the commissioner is going to speak tomorrow in some way, shape, or form, and that the owners need to come out of this meeting and make a proposal that at least the players respect and are willing to negotiate off of? Because it seems from afar as if the two sides are still just yelling and cursing at one another.
Well, let me start at the end of that. The reason they're still yelling and cursing at one another is that there's no real deadline. The media, unfortunately, has let the fans believe that because spring training starts on February 15th, that that's the deadline, and that any deal that happens after that is a failure and it counts as a work stoppage. In order to get a deal done like this, there has to be a real deadline, and neither the owners nor the players look at February 15th as a real deadline. They may look at March 1st as a real deadline because that is the latest you can get an agreement and start the season reasonably close to March 31st. I think there needs to be 5 weeks from a vote, meaning the owners vote to ratify the agreement, the players vote to ratify the agreement. I think you need 5 weeks after that before opening day, which would be somewhere around February 20th to 21st to 22nd. And I just don't see that happening, which is why I think there's a delay. What will come out of this owners meeting is Rob will have a press conference on Thursday, and he will look tired. He'll have bags under his eyes, and he's going to try to elicit public sympathy and say, listen, we have made very meaningful, important proposals, and the players are saying that we're not willing to negotiate, and that is a legal term. When players say that, when you see all these guys tweeting all the time, this was a very concerted effort by the Players Union to say and let the people know and let the National Labor Relations Board people know, hey, they're not negotiating in good faith. They won't even come to the table. Well, MLB is way too smart. They've got good lawyers. You've got to negotiate in good faith. You've got to come to the table. Therefore, coming out of this meeting, there will be some sort of proposal by the owners. It will not be a proposal that the players like, but it will be some sort of movement somewhere so they can show that they are following the law. Because this is governed not by the laws of baseball. This is the laws of labor unions. So this is far bigger than just baseball. So I agree with you that coming out of Thursday, there will be some sort of move by the owners but the players will say it's not enough, it's not even close, and we're going to keep doing this dance for another at least couple of weeks.
You know, the owners obviously have deeper pockets. They want the games to be played just like the players do. But when the players seem to be this steadfast in getting everything they want, at what point will the owners shut them off and quit negotiating and give them a take it or leave it, David?
I don't think that happens. You don't really do. It's not like when you're negotiating with the free agent and you say, hey, here's 4 years, $40 million, take it or leave it. If not, we're going to move on to the next guy. The owners are not going to start down the road of, hey, take it or leave it, or we're going to do replacement players. That is just something that back in the 90s was a thought, but, not in the 80s, but certainly not here in the 2020s. So I don't think that they would ever do that. But I do think that there is a point where the owners say, we're holding on to these assets for way longer than these players play. So we believe the players will have to give in sooner than we have to give in. And that is the leverage that they think they have. And it's going to be interesting come March 31st when these players don't get the paychecks they're used to. They're all talking how much together they are and how okay they are with the war chest they have and yada, yada, yada. But when you expect a paycheck and you only get paid 6 months a year, which players do, and your first paycheck doesn't come, but your bills keep coming, and the majority of your union I say that with air quotes, only makes $500,000 to $600,000 to $700,000 a year, it makes a difference. So I believe that the owners have the advantage, but I also believe that management has the advantage over employees every time because people who own assets hold them for longer than employees who play in a game that especially requires physical ability.
David Samson, the podcast, which is daily, is called Nothing Personal with David Samson. You can follow David on Twitter at David, the letter P, Samson, David P. Samson. All right, something that I'm sure is also going to come up, if it hasn't already, in Orlando is the Cubs threatening to put their own streaming service together when that seems to run awry of the regional cable system that's been set up for all these teams where they make a chunk of their money, and also rumors that baseball was maybe wanting to do one for the entire sport within the next 24 months. How big of a story is this? And are the Cubs, David, threatening to be the Jerry Jones of Major League Baseball?
I spent about 20 minutes of yesterday's Nothing Personal on this issue because there's some bit of confusion out there. Each individual team in baseball has the right to stream its own games. It used to be held by Major League Baseball, but then under pressure by the Yankees, Cubs, Red Sox, etc., the right to stream games was given back to the teams. Some teams then passed that right to their cable channel, meaning the Marlins, when they did a TV deal, gave Valley Sports Florida the right to stream Marlins games. The Cubs have the right to stream their own games. They have the right to start their own app. They've got the financial muscle. They have the right market to do it. The real issue, and I encourage people to listen to the podcast yesterday, is that this is really a fight between owners. And that makes the commissioner nervous, because that's when there was a long work stoppage in 1994 and 1995. A big part of that was the fighting that went on between low revenue and high revenue owners. And that is what we're seeing now, because teams like the Rays and the Marlins and the Royals and the Guardians, they want streaming rights to be part of national revenue that gets split evenly amongst the 30 teams. The large revenue teams want their own streaming rights, and they want to monetize them and not share that revenue with people like Stu Sternberg and Derek Jeter. And underneath all of that, keep in mind, and this is your market, so this is so important to realize, I can't overestimate to you enough how angry the other owners are at how good Stuart Sternberg is at running a team on the field. It is incredibly frustrating to have a payroll of $150 million and get your butt kicked by the Rays year in and year out. And so therefore it causes a tremendous amount of strife. And that's a big part of what's going on in Orlando now, is the commissioner trying to make sure there's no infighting with the owners, because it's hard to fight a war on so many fronts if you're baseball.
You mentioned something earlier, David, and my final question is this. You mentioned the media keep pushing, spring training opening day. This is so different than any other labor negotiations between the union and the owners because largely, we have ESPN on in the studio for 4 hours every morning for the most part. And to see a story on the lockout is damn near non-existent, David. Unlike past years, the media doesn't seem to care about this lockout the way they have in the past. Do you think that hurts the negotiations, helps the negotiations, or doesn't matter one bit?
I hate to say it, but it's C, right? It really doesn't matter because once you hear the crack of the bat and the ball hitting the glove and you hear James Earl Jones's voice and you see the players in uniform, everyone has a very, very quick memory that they just forget about. What about the NBA? Do you remember the lockout shortened season? Well, they had a championship after that. I was just reading a book about the 1999 NBA Finals. I had totally forgotten it was a shortened season because all I remembered is the Knicks were in the finals against the San Antonio Spurs. So things have a way, fans have a way of forgetting, and owners and players both realize that. But you're going to read a lot of rhetoric because it's so nice to say and convenient to say for people, oh, baseball's dying. Nobody cares. Nobody's talking about it. But people say that about every sport when there's labor strife. And I just don't think it's a huge concern within the ownership group. We never talked about that, just so you know. In 18 years, with all the collective bargaining negotiations that I was a part of, not once did it come up, oh, no, we better give in because people are angry out there.
David, we have about a minute, so I'll ask this very quickly. Trevor Bauer, they set out in Los Angeles. They're not going to press any charges. Now, obviously, he can still be suspended by the commissioner, and he probably will be. He's got 2 years left on his Dodgers contract. When he gets released and he gets paid, is he going to play again?
I do not see a path to the Los Angeles Dodgers letting him put a uniform on again. I just don't see it. They have paid for more dead weight than any other organization. They use money the way bullies use money to take advantage of teams that don't have as much money, and they are absolutely going to write off his contract. If they don't get the ability to release him and not pay him, they're just going to release him and pay him. There is no way they can go backwards and bring him back into that clubhouse.
All right, 20 seconds. So if he gets released, remember, no charges were filed. It's an unseemly story, but no charges were ever, they were dismissed, I should say. All right. Do you think another team can pick him up and pay him the veteran minimum?
So they weren't dismissed. No charges were ever pressed against Trevor Bauer. And if I am a team, I do not sign him because the juice is simply not worth the squeeze. He is too big a distraction, and he's just not worth it.
He's David Samson. We feel the juice is worth the squeeze, and that's why we call him at least monthly. His daily podcast is definitely worth the squeeze. It is nothing personal with David Samson. Follow him on Twitter at David P. Samson. David, all the best to you and your family. Stay warm.
Thank you. Speak soon. Bye-bye.
David Samson, kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton. We'll see.
We get a lot of information in that. That should have everybody up to speed on the negotiations.
We'll see. I'm more pessimistic about them coming to terms than he is. He thinks that the you-know-what's going to come to pass here really soon, and they're going to figure it out and play 140, 150.
One thing we've all agreed upon, they've known this for 5 years and have ignored it largely. Miller and Moulton, thank you so much for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. Fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Get your tickets at gpstpete.com to secure the best seats.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Had this discussion for 12 years.
Time for new leadership.
Down goes Frazier.
Tag. Hey, there you go, dead streak. Which games did you watch? By the way, the Bucks played incredible basketball last night. I think at halftime they were shooting like 74% from the field. Also,
Were they playing incredible basketball, or was it just god-awful defense like a normal midseason NBA game?
no defense. Jeez.
Okay. That is the part for a lot of us. It's why, to me, most regular, like last year, there was a handful of games.
David, your flashlight's on your phone, by the way.
I don't even know how that's possible.
Because you turned it on. But there were a handful of big
but
games.
I don't know how.
Well, it's on the front page when you open it up now. I mean, like when you go to this, it's right there before the lock screen. So you probably just pressed it. Yep, it is dead streak. But there was like 8-10 games last year that were big games. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to watch Heat, Celtics, whatever. By halftime, it's a 24-point game. Okay, I'm going to turn that like.
Man, we haven't been able to beat the Celtics this year.
But I just made two teams up. But I mean, they weren't just Heat games. There was 8-10 random games that were big games last year. Every time I turned one on, it was a blowout.
Yeah.
Regular season NBA basketball is a tough watch a lot of times.
No, recently it's just been one-sided.
That's a tough watch.
I would argue that it was better when the Warriors were a dynasty because, you'd have teams playing their best every time they played against the Warriors on national
It's
television.
one team. I'm talking about regular season NBA games. They're a tough watch because they don't play defense
but
on a nightly basis. That's why I'll start watching when the postseason comes, when I know they're going to play hard for the whole game.
Giannis had one of the best games of his career. He missed 3 shots. He had 44 points, 14 rebounds, 8 assists, a couple steals, a couple blocks.
I gave the scores to 5 games. There was all 5-point game, and then it was 35, 15, 17, 18.
Thank you.
I was watching that Sixers
Holy
game.
cow. Yeah. Let's see. Orlando beat the Blazers by 18.
Okay, right. I didn't give the Hawks Pacers score. That was 21.
T-Wolves won by 20.
I didn't give the Grizzlies Clippers score, which was 26. I didn't give the Pelicans Rockets score, which was 13. I didn't give the Mavs Pistons score, which was 30.
By the way, winning scores last night in the NBA. 114 in a good game, 126 in a blowout, 133 in a blowout, 135 in a blowout, 110 in a 13-point game, 116 in a blowout, 132 in a 17-point game, 131 in a 15-point game, 134 in a blowout. That's not average winning score last night was about 125.
Can I just say something also? I get it. It's regular season. They're not playing as hard on defense. But you also have to take into account that not only is the talent pool in the NBA the greatest it's ever been in the history of NBA basketball, but People
I
are,
would say that about every
people
one
are-
of the major sports.
People are shooting the lights out.
I would say that about every one of
Right,
the major
because
sports.
it's natural human evolution.
Right.
But
So, well, I mean,
but
you
people are
can't
shooting the
you
lights
can't
out.
use that as your argument.
But people are just better. The game is the best it's ever been.
I disagree.
I totally
I
disagree.
could not disagree with you more.
Well, not to watch. I get what you're
No,
saying.
no,
but
no,
I'm
no,
saying
no, no,
for the
no, no, no,
talent
no.
aspect,
No. We shoot 3-pointers. Look at all we do is shoot 3-pointers.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Minute and a half past the hour. It is the final hour of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, and Port Charlotte and Venice. We are halfway home in the 239. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network, just like we are halfway home in this week, as it is a hump day, Super Bowl 56, roughly 100 plus hours away.
And only about 4 hours before pregame coverage begins.
Although the network that's carrying it also has the Olympics. So where are they going to start this 100-hour pregame?
Well, I think they've already decided to quit airing the rest of the Olympics and maybe take that off.
It's not doing well. It helps that the Americans had a good day/night. Since you went to bed, they picked up 3 medals, I believe. Since I went to bed, all right, and I slept about 5.5 hours, the United States picked up a gold and 2 silvers.
But Michaela Schiffer fell down again. I mean, our star athlete has failed, and that stinks because she, one of the superstars expected to win a couple of golds, and we knew who she was. It's a good story.
Michaela Schifrin, right. And she's fallen both times.
Right.
This is, for those of a certain age that can remember, this is Dan Jansen all over again. The U.S. speed skater whose sister died right before, I think it was the 92 Olympics, and he was favored to medal in everything and win gold in 1 or 2 events, and he kept falling. Just kept falling. One time he fell on a straightaway on the track. I mean, just fell. And he hadn't fallen in a race in years.
You and I have watched more Olympic coverage this morning than we have throughout this whole thing, only because it's been on the television.
Correct.
And roller derby's been on.
Right. Speed skating.
Short track speed skating.
Right. Which I got to admit, I mean, it's fairly entertaining as it is. But if they added the roller derby element to it, where occasionally you could just, push and shove. I mean, not the big stuff where you get near the rail and you're throwing people over it. I'm just talking about, little elbow pads, and you can
no tripping though.
No, arm bar like you do in the NBA, there's stuff like that. Add a little something to it. I think you can make it a professional league, to be honest, if you did that.
Don't know if I'd go that far, but David and I have been into some short track speed skating during the commercial breaks as we start getting ready for Super Bowl 56. Ben Maller joins us on the show this morning from LA. As he said, it's not yet hyped up. Today, probably the day. I listened to a little of Pat McAfee's show yesterday. They said the same thing on Radio Row. They just kind of yelled at everybody that walked by.
Well, Radio Row's not the deal that it used to be, because I think we, the consumer, have figured it out. I think we have. We understand that it's a bunch of former players, a few current, but a bunch of former players. And they're all being paid to get the word out about whatever. How much of it is different from past years?
Well, it was what they were talking. One of the things they got go on yesterday was, I guess, 2 years ago, Derrick Henry, or 3 years ago, maybe, because there wasn't a Radio Row last year. 3 years ago, Derrick Henry repped Old Spice and sat on his throne and did I think they said somewhere between 40 and 60 interviews the day he was there. And Jefferson from the Vikings this year was the Old Spice guy. And they were just having a ball because I happened to catch the show early, was driving around and left it on in the car. And towards the end of the show, man, Jefferson's still working the room. Those Old Spice, you get paid. You got to work when you work for Old Spice. And I think I actually believe if the Super Bowl would have been in Florida this year, somewhere where it hasn't been as closed, I think Radio Row would have been off the damn chain. I think the 3-hour time difference doesn't help Radio Row.
No.
I think people are so clamoring back for any sense of normalcy that I think Radio Row would have been an overwhelming success if it wasn't in the Pacific time zone. I'm not even knocking the California fact of this. I just think the fact that it's 3 hours behind hurts that.
Well, the next two are out there, Arizona and Vegas.
Yeah, but see, Vegas, they should be smart enough to know Radio Row should be open 24/7. Fans, too. I don't just want fans in certain hours. I want fans all the time.
No, I'm sorry. I differ with you there. No, got to keep the fans out of Radio Row. No, from a security standpoint alone.
Well, you could have your cake and eat it too there. You can't have them mingling between where the radio stations are, but you can have them, whether it's upstairs or around, just to see what the event is, which they are doing this year.
Okay. All right. I've never been anywhere where they had like a second deck where people could sit and observe and that sort of deal. I would think to go to it, I don't know. I'd want to go where I could touch someone, if you know what I mean, get an autograph, get a picture, a selfie, something like that. But they'll figure it out. They're going to want to keep this going.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's the reason why there's because I don't believe what the NFL says that we need 2 weeks. No, you don't. No, you've done this on 1 week quite a few times, actually. And the game is so big now. The league is so big now. I not only do you not need 2 weeks, all right, I mean, you could throw the sucker together in 4 days from a promotion standpoint, et cetera. I mean, the NFL took over SoFi and the surrounding areas during the playoffs after the wild card game because they thought the Rams were not going to have another home playoff game. Well, let's face it, they were the 4 seed. They win the 4-5 game, and then they're going on the road. I mean, what are the odds that a 4 seed is going to host a conference championship game? It has not happened that often. So the NFL basically took over SoFi and the surrounding areas immediately after the Rams beat the Cardinals. And then, oh, by the way, 2 weeks later, it's like, hey, I know you got all this fencing up and you're starting to rearrange traffic and all that, but I don't know what to tell you. We got to squeeze in this little thing called the NFC Championship game. This is I know the Super Bowl banners were up, Mark, 10 days ago. They were up. The fencing was all up. You couldn't go where you could normally go to a Rams game. The traffic was so bad in and around the NFC Championship game. It's in a weird area as it is. Inglewood, all right, part of it's not the greatest neighborhood.
Always up to no good, David.
So
that's what I learned. The one thing I would love to see, and I don't know what network would air this, David. It certainly wouldn't be the NFL Network or anybody that carries the games. Maybe one of those, maybe Paramount TV could do this. But I would love to see a 30 for 30 type show on the fix-ups around the Super Bowl. Because as Ben Maller was talking about how they basically moved as many homeless people away from SoFi as humanly possible.
Mm-hmm.
If you think back to the Detroit Super Bowl, whenever that was, 5, 6, 8 years ago, and they had all the vacant buildings, that they basically redid all the buildings down Woodward going to Ford Field. So it looked as if there were actually businesses in there when they were boarded up. I would love to see all the work the NFL's done to fool people or to attempt to fool people coming in from other areas at the area that the game is so lovely. Because I do find this fascinating that, hey, we've got the Super Bowl coming. We've got a homeless problem in LA. How about we just move them all out of the way so that doesn't make any of the television screens? As if NBC was going to do a story on homelessness in the pregame show.
Listen, there's a makeup lady with the Fox crew. So I understand, being able to, polish, people up and make them look better and all that. I can tell you from 10 days ago, there was not a lot of polishing going on. They were just fencing it and they were wrapping it. They were just putting wraps around the fencing.
Just can't see through here.
Yeah.
You just can't see. There's something on the other side, but you're not going to be able to see what it is.
Right. And so we were all like, wow, they're commandeering all the parking lots. So that's great. Less places to park. Good. More traffic because it'll be Super Bowl. So that'll be a good combination. And then I will say it's not far from the airport. Now, it's not near any hotels, but it's not far from the airport. We'll say this, though, if you get a chance to go to SoFi, and my guess is, since the NFL Network is located in the basement, I mean, I have no idea. I haven't asked. I would think they'd give tours of some kind. I mean, I would think they would give tours. I mean, you spend $3 to $5 billion on a stadium. I'd want people to see it.
Right.
I mean, but that's just me. But also the NFL Network located in the basement. I would guess that they would, if they don't do it already, that they would start giving tours.
I mean, is there a stadium that doesn't give tours?
It's the best stadium in the NFL from a visual standpoint. And walking in the stadium, I mean, Lambeau has its own mystique, and it's more like a college
More
stadium.
charm,
Yeah.
probably.
But if you're into bells and whistles, if you're into modern, SoFi is I've seen everyone except for Heinz Field that I've actually been in it for a game. It's the best. I mean, it is.
Heinz Field wouldn't be the best. I can tell you that right now. Heinz Field's cool. I like it. It's fun to see because you get to see the river and you get some wind coming off the river. But no. It's not the best.
Tell you what, though, those terrible towels.
And they bring them everywhere.
Yes, they do.
I will say, when the Steelers were in Minneapolis to play the Vikings, I mean, hordes of Steelers fans whirling those towels walking to the game. It was quite a sight.
David, my wife brought one to the delivery room, and I'm not joking.
No way.
There's a picture of our daughter with a terrible towel over her within hours of being born.
Here's my question, near the end of the labor, and were you allowed?
We played Renegade right before things started going, David. I'm pretty sure we asked them, "Can you play Renegade? This thing's about to happen. We need to get the wife fired up."
Were you Lynn Swan on the Pirates dugout there, kind of whooping up the crowd there, going, "Come on, honey,
Let's go,
let's go, defense, defense."
I don't know if that's really what you chant there.
No, I understand that, but
you know what you're not yelling? Go for two. Go for two.
God.
I would, however, look at the doc and yell, "Run the damn ball!"
I think I said that at one point.
13 minutes after the hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I had a text. That's funny when I get a text. I don't really go for two. That's funny.
Yeah, it is.
Will the MLB season start on time?
I'll say that.
Yes, no, I don't care.
There you go. Put in parenthesis what on time is, which I think is March 28th. Hold on.
By the way, I went to Fat Cats yesterday, Mark.
It's an awesome place.
It's cool, but I spoke to them and they're like, "Yeah, this is like our biggest month of the year every year."
It is, but that's why I told you go to Potts because they're a baseball place.
Yeah, they have the twin stuff plastered on the glass in front of their place.
No, it's not the 28th.
But yeah, they get so much business during March for spring break that they told me that usually first week of April they close down the restaurant entirely for a week and they all get a vacation. It's all hands on deck in March.
March what?
31st.
I don't think I've always wondered, David, for these games that you cover, do you ever turn into a fan? Like moments, what are moments that you've just, holy crap, like that did not just happen. You just turn into a fan.
No.
Never. It's always just business.
Right afterwards.
Right afterwards, yeah.
Right afterwards, we all kind of look at one another and go, was this as cool as we think it was?
Mics come off.
But no, you got to keep your head about you.
Yeah.
Because if you get one thing wrong or you miss one detail, it ruins the whole.
And I will even tell you, I mean, he's doing a lot bigger level. You have to understand, David and I go to games. I've sat with him in press boxes. We don't.
No, you're just observing.
I don't care.
I know.
Like, I don't even care who wins anymore. I will get excited about a great play, and trust me, I watch Michigan State play Wisconsin. Usually I'd be throwing crap. I just watch it and go, God, they're awful.
Yeah.
I don't care anymore.
Oh, I when I first started to get to know you, I was surprised how much you didn't care. I was like, huh.
I just want great games.
Part of it's age.
Yeah.
Part of it is you.
Nassar's a lot. Michigan State, the Larry Nassar thing destroyed me with that
Yeah.
school. Destroyed me.
Yeah. But I wonder what David Moulton, the fan, was like.
I've never heard of him.
Never heard of him.
I've never been to a Ranger game with him, so that's the only way I could really determine this.
Yeah. Rangers and Mets. Well, Giants. I was in my teens and 20s.
Football Giants?
Yeah.
Like you would go to games?
Well, I mean, I will say, when Eli hit Plaxico to take the lead on the Patriots, I mean, that my grandfather had died, and he was the one that turned me into a Giants fan, and I got emotional when they scored.
Awesome.
See, that's awesome. I love that.
Well, that was 3 weeks after wife and daughter came home from shopping with about 3 minutes to go in the Giants-Cowboys divisional playoff game. And they come in and they start asking a bunch of questions. And
my God.
And they're standing in front of the TV. And that's when I yelled at both of them, could you guys just leave me alone for 15 minutes?
That's it.
Leave me alone.
No. I think he told his daughter.
Right. And then my daughter had just asked a question. And I said, could I not be your father for 15 minutes?
Just give me
15 minutes.
I don't want to be for the next 15 minutes. I'm not your father. It is one of the greatest lines ever uttered.
Honestly, both of you, I love you, but please leave me alone.
Please.
As Romo's leading the Cowboys down the field into scoring position.
A whole year culminated into this moment. Please.
Well, because I didn't think they had anything left in the tank to beat the Packers the next week, but I'm like, man, if we could take out the Cowboys.
Retweet the poll question.
Whatever.
Now, did you tweet that on the Florida Sports Network account or your account?
Florida Sport.
You're starting to.
I do everything from the Florida Sports Network account.
Yeah, but you used to tweet the poll questions from your account.
I understand that, but I tweet everything now first from Florida Sports Network.
Got it.
The guest list in the morning.
Yes, sir. Okay, we're coming back now.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
"19 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, Florida Sports Network. Kevin Sheehan, who does sports radio in Washington, D.C., will join us coming up at the top of the hour. The Commanders, that's going to take a while to get used to.
Holy Toledo.
The Commanders, some quarterback rumors with them. We'll talk to Kevin Sheehan about that, and also just about the name. How's that going over? Because that's only a week old.
Does it matter? I mean, we'll ask, and I'm not trying to belittle your point there, but does it really matter?
I think it does in this sense. They have the biggest stadium in the NFL, and they used to have a glorious fan base that is unbelievably alienated by the owner and they're tired of giving him their money. And they have reduced capacity in that stadium by over 10,000. I mean, what they've done in Jacksonville with tarps and what have you, which has largely gone away now, but they're doing all that and then some in Washington. And there are still tens of thousands of empty seats at their games. And I just think that if you're doing PR and marketing and you're part of that team, we need to start having some small victories.
I got you. And I guess my point was, and I didn't mean it that flippantly, but they're not going to have a third name. This is it.
Yeah.
If they don't like it, I don't know what to tell them. I guess, I mean,
well, why can't you change your name? I mean, hell, they went with WFT for 2 years.
Which most of us said WTF.
Exactly. I mean, why can't they 5 years down the road go, you know what? We got this wrong. Like, there's talk the Dolphins are going to go back to their old uniforms.
We've only been talking about it since you and I have been working together,
right.
which is just 15 years,
right.
basically.
Yeah, we've been begging them. Hey, you gave it a shot. You missed.
And it's so funny that you say that. Literally, Felipe had on his old school Aqua sweatshirt last week.
Oh.
I went to a softball practice or whatever that night, and one of the dads had on, it was a cooler night, had the new logo on with the jacket. And I still had that sweater, and I'm looking at that thing, and I obviously didn't say anything, but I'm going, God, that's ugly.
Yeah, Felipe was much better dressed than you were, sir, and it's not
and it's not your fandom. I appreciate your fandom and wearing it.
And so, I'm just curious, hey, we're here, he's there. It's one of those things. Hey, it's Commanders. You guys got a 2-day head start on it at least. Theismann let you know on Monday. The TV helicopter let you know on Tuesday. They made it official on Wednesday. It's been a week. So how's this going over? And who knows? Kevin may say, if we get a quarterback, it'll go over just fine.
That's the whole thing. That's why it really, we'll all be Commanders if we can get a quarterback. The Commanders need what? A commander at this point.
They need a Joe Burrow.
Don't we all?
Could all use one. We could all use one. Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network. And what we needed, which we neglected, I think it was because we had an early guest. I think that's what got us off our routine.
It probably did.
We had to move things around in the 6 o'clock hour. Normally we come up with a poll question during the first hour of the show. So we're pretty late. So hopefully you'll get around to voting. And it concerns baseball, which I know it's a poll question. Lighten up. But you think the season's going to start on time? Yes, no, I don't care. Season's supposed to start March 31st, which is a Friday? No, it's a Thursday. March 31st is a Thursday. Let's start on a Thursday. So, do the math. We're talking about, I think, 7 weeks tomorrow. So we're 50 days away, I think, the start of the Major League Baseball season.
And it was just curious of what people think. I do think that if the no's outdo the I don't cares, David, it's a great day for baseball.
That's sad, but true. So just this little snapshot in time where basically that will at least show more people care than don't.
It gives you the 6 o'clock hour back, is what it does.
And in our second act, ladies and gentlemen, the 6 o'clock hour was the baseball hour for various reasons.
And mainly just because I wouldn't allow David to talk baseball after 7 a.m. Or at least try to, unless it was a very, very big story. You can text the show as well, by the way. Text the keyword FSN Radio, all one word, to 21,000. We've had people texting throughout the show on some of the different things we've talked about, whether it's the gambling and some other stuff. So you obviously can text the show. We love to hear from you that way as well. FSN Radio to 21,000. FSN Radio, one word, to 21,000.
2 major NBA trades yesterday, a 6-player deal between Indiana and Sacramento. And I know there's 17 Pacers and Kings fans combined out there, but it was a major trade. And Portland and New Orleans, of which there's also 19 combined fans out there. They had a 7-player, 3 draft pick deal. And that's big time stuff. I mean, 13 players, a handful of draft picks, and 2 deals. Trade deadline's 3:00 tomorrow.
2 pretty good players, too, though. I mean, skip the whole 13-player draft pick and all that. Two big players. Two big pieces.
At least. I mean, the proven ones are Sabonis, who was a 2-time All-Star with Indiana, a big guy. He gets sent to Sacramento. They're trying to form their big 3, so they're thinking De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis, and, you know, maybe they're there or they'll get someone in the lottery or what have you. Meanwhile, the Robin to Damian Lillard's Batman, C.J. McCollum, I mean, he got sent to New Orleans. And now they think they've put a big 3 together for next year of a healthy Zion, Brandon Ingram, and C.J. McCollum. Hoping to keep Zion, quite frankly. Just like Portland's trying to keep Lillard, hoping, hey, and we've cleared the decks. Now we got over $60 million in cap space. Not a lot of teams are going to have cap room this offseason, which is true, which means that Portland could be the, hey, we could, in theory, get the best player out there, maybe even the 2 best. Put them around you. Take a run at this thing. You don't need to be traded. Just like Zion. Hey, nothing wrong with New Orleans, Zion. Come on. We can win here. Look at Memphis. I will say, look at Memphis.
Well, look at Memphis, but look at New Orleans and the timing for Zion to stay there right now. If they can put something together, David, we don't know what. I mean, the Saints could very well go back to being the Aints. And I know they're the most important team there, but they had a Drew Brees.
That helped.
And without a Drew Brees, you become less important. You just do. They put together a semblance of a big 3. The timing is right for Zion to take that city over. Because even you had said in a city that's dominated by football, not only the Saints, but LSU, when you've made trips there in the last 2 years, they had preseason games on TV watching Zion, that he was starting to have the ability to take that town over. But the injuries have really slowed that process down.
We were in Baton Rouge on a Friday night, and it had to be mid-October because the baseball playoffs were on, and it was a preseason game involving the Pelicans. And the bar that we were in the hotel had about 4 TVs. And between a college football game that was on, like a Sun Belt game, in which, hey, it's helmets and shoulder pads, tough, it's staying on. And then you had the baseball game on one TV, but the other 2 TVs had the Pelican preseason game on, all because of Zion. And I remember where we were sitting, it was not close to where the baseball was. And, you know, you got a bunch of people, mostly from New York, on the crew, and they want to watch playoff baseball. And we're like, hey, can you put and the guy just looked right at me and said, yeah, the Pelicans stay on.
Okay.
Yeah, I went, wow. I don't think that ever would have been the answer in the 10, 12 years previous to this.
Right.
Interesting.
Right. And now think about it. They put together a couple of pieces with them.
Right.
And the team's competitive.
In theory that, you know, they'll jump up and be good. You know, Phoenix came out of nowhere. They had a Chris Paul to Ayton and Booker. Boom. Lightning in a bottle.
And maybe a little bit more, because that's been,
yeah.
Now it's a couple of years where this has been pretty good.
This is year 2. And the thought is that they'll probably have a year 3 at least of this core, because Chris Paul's not showing any signs of slowing down. He's really like the older quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, what he's doing is ridiculous.
And I thought of this because I spent some time in Portland last summer. And when Lillard leaves, it's going to be catastrophic to that city. They have the Timbers and they have the Blazers. And the Timbers are an MLS team, but they are big there. Blazers are everything in that town.
Mm-hmm.
And he is everything to the Blazers.
Yep.
You know, my buddy's daughter, who I think is now a sophomore in high school, that's her guy. She grew up a basketball fan. She plays basketball. That's the guy. He leaves. Oh, man. And I think he's going to.
Now, he has not requested a trade officially, and he's hurt. Don't know if he's even going to come back this year or not. He has an abdominal tear. He had to have surgery. But, you know, what Portland's been spending the last year doing is getting rid of the coach, had to get rid of the GM because of, you know,
a lot of reasons,
things not having to do with basketball. And they're trying to show him, hey, we can compete here. You don't need to go elsewhere. You don't need to go to Philadelphia. You don't. You don't need to go to the East. You can stay here. We can compete for a championship. And most people feel that Lillard is kind of watching from afar going, yeah, I'm not buying what you're selling.
Go
This
ahead and
isn't
trade
gonna
me for
work.
Ben Simmons right now and call it a day.
Or whatever it is. And, who knows? I mean, will Philadelphia and Portland actually pull the trigger in the next 30 hours on a blockbuster deal like that? I don't think so. I think they're going to I think Portland's going to wait for Lillard to demand a trade.
I agree, too. If you're Portland, David, to me, you can't make that trade. You can't.
I mean, they got till tomorrow till 3.
Right.
I understand that, but they can't make that trade until what David said. Until Lillard says, I'm not playing here anymore, you cannot trade him. Not in my opinion.
What is interesting, though, is what's going on between Philly and Brooklyn. I mean, most people in the league now are saying, listen, Philly's just flat out tampering with Harden. That there's no bones about it. They're tampering, that they have people, they're talking to Harden directly. They're not even talking to his people. They're talking to Harden directly.
There's one answer for that. Daryl Morey.
Well, there's more than that, though. One of the co-owners of the Sixers is actually tight with Harden. They do business together. There's actually multiple connections between Harden and the Sixers. And the Nets have lost 9 in a row. And Harden maybe could have played in each of the last 2 games with a slightly tight hamstring, and the Nets just happened to have kept him out. Why? Most people think not wanting him to aggravate that hamstring before when? The trade deadline. So that, to me, the preseason favorite to win the NBA title has just lost their 9th consecutive game. I understand Durant's been out, but still. I think something really big's happened in the next 30 hours.
We shall see. This man loves a trade deadline. He's
damn right
talking himself into it even.
I always do. And I'm a sucker for a trade deadline.
You set yourself up to be let down every trade deadline, but the NBA is a league that can deliver with lots of trades. Not any of them matter, but they'll make lots of trades in the next 24 hours. Miller and Moulton, thank you so much for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
James Harden. That's got to be one of my favorite Future lyrics of all time. Future Hendrix rapper. 13 strippers, James Harden.
God, I hate my new phone. Jesus.
Okay, you got to tell me why. Maybe I can help you. Maybe I can make your life better.
You tap on things, they don't work. All right? The ESPN app won't work for shit. I hate my new phone.
Are you connected to the Wi-Fi here?
Do you think I'm a fucking moron?
I
mean, come on.
Come on. I'm just asking a question.
I mean, this is not just not working now. Okay? I mean, weeks it's not working properly. I hate it. I would go back to my 8S, which is 6 years old, yesterday. Everything worked on it.
Which one do you have?
I got the brand new one.
Let me wait. Do me a favor. Show me the back of your phone. Oh, you have the 13 Pro, the same one as me? Yeah. How is that possible?
Adam, I'm with you. I think Tony Stewart will be terrific. I do. The problem is he's only doing like 5 races.
Uh-oh. What happened?
What?
I've just seen a lot of you two arguing during the break again.
I'm frustrated by the phone. My new phone, it's not working properly.
Okay.
All right. And it hasn't been. And so now, like when you touch things, it's not responding. My ESPN app doesn't work properly. Hasn't for a week and a half, 2 weeks. And so I just voiced some frustration. I said, God, I hate my phone. So he, of course, is like, are you connected to our Wi-Fi? And I'm like, listen, this is not.
I'm not even connected to the Wi-Fi because I don't have the password.
David, can I make a suggestion?
Go for it.
There is, in the settings app, there is a thing where you can make your screen and just all the app icons on the screen bigger. If that's, oh no, but the problem is that they're not working. I'm sorry. That was
Try turning it off and
you know what, Mark? I thought about that.
You have to do that about once a week with a phone. You should.
Okay. Well, I just did it.
They say that it's good to let your phone die sometimes too. Like if you have low battery and you're at home, just let it die.
Really?
Let it sit there for a little bit and then just charge it again. It's good for your battery life, longevity.
Oh boy. Thank you for that, Mr. Boutte. Yeah, maybe I will.
What do we got going on there?
Just a quote.
Oh, yeah. I was.
Just a quote. It just, all I needed was that quote to fill me in on the entire 60 seconds. I'm good now.
I miss Marlon's Brewhouse next to University Village, or in University.
Yeah, that guy, I think there was one of the people that was the owners was very shady. It was whether the Cali Burger or the Marlins. I thought the Marlins Bros was still open.
No,
The burger place closed.
they both closed.
They both closed? Okay.
Did you see this story, Mark? Moose attacks Iditarod sled team, injuring 4 dogs.
I did not.
Our favorite paper.
Adam says to install the software update. Diez segundos.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes before the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. The Florida Sports Network. Our poll question, go to that Mark Miller on Twitter, the David Moulton on Twitter, or FL Sports Network on Twitter, and answer the poll question, which is, will the Major League Baseball season start on time? Scheduled to start 5 weeks from tomorrow on March 31st. Yay or nay?
Right now, 43% are nay, 6% are yay, and 51% don't care, David.
And actually, it's 7 weeks tomorrow because it's 50 days. That's where the 5 was in my head. 50 days from today is when the Major League Baseball season is scheduled to start. And will it? That's our poll question. Coming up at the top of the hour, we'll head to D.C. Kevin Sheehan will join us to talk about some rumors involving who the next Washington quarterback is going to be, and also find out how well the Commanders name change is going over.
And I'm fired up this morning. I've given out the text number a couple of times. I'm going to give it again. The keyword, FSN Radio, the number 21,000. And it looks like a few of you in Lake City and or Port Charlotte, Tampa, St. Pete. I'm seeing some first-time texters, David. That gets me fired up. You know that. With the new affiliates and new people listening to the show and new people taking in our show, we thank you all for listening to Miller and Moulton and love to see your reactions to what it is we're talking about and your thoughts on those subjects by texting FSN Radio to 21,000. That gets you in the gate, and then you're good to go.
Overnight, the United States adding a gold and a silver to its otherwise Olympic haul. First gold medal for the U.S. in these Winter Olympics. And usually, Mark, that the word spreads and it generates more viewers. If the U.S. starts doing well, this just in, we like to see U.S. athletes win. If they're not winning, we have a tendency not to watch as much. Never mind every other thing that's standing in the way of people watching these Olympics.
Right. Like having Peacock Plus to watch most events live.
Right.
So you get to watch a lot of replays and NBC not doing much live at all, really.
Don't know how you can. Don't know how you can. I mean, prime time for us is what, like 8 to 11 in the morning over there? I mean, you can get a lot of preliminaries usually, but very few finals are taking place in the mornings, even on the slopes and what have you. Never mind the fact there's not a lot of snow.
There's not a lot of snow, and I don't know if is it the ski jumping event where basically you see the nuclear reactor in the background?
There's 3 of them.
Not sure if the Olympic rings are painted on one of the reactors or not, but
I thought I was in like Berwick, Pennsylvania. I thought I'd just gone from I-81 to I-80, and you bend around the side there, and there they are. I'm like, hey, look at that. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a ski jump. Not a great visual, but it's going on for another week and a half.
And as we've been talking about throughout these Olympics, the numbers are
really bad,
horrendous,
really bad.
And they're not off. They're all-time worst Olympic numbers off. And it does not bode well for NBC and then whoever else wants the Olympics going forward. I don't know how the IOC is going to be able to get any money out of anybody.
Well, they have enough time to kind of rehab their image. And I will say, I mean, the future of the Olympics in this country on television is probably all based on how the 2028 Summer Games in LA go. Because it'll probably, if I were the IOC, I would wait to after those games to put my TV rights up for bid, thinking that most of our money comes from America. The Olympics are in America. They should do well. And then we can say, hey, who wants to broadcast future Olympics? Here's the other thing, Mark. If NBC's got the Olympics through 2032, which I believe is a summer Olympics year, I mean, by then, Mark, I mean, we're talking a decade from now. Think about, if you can, go back 10, 11 years as to what television was like. Was there a streaming service 10, 11 years ago of any kind?
Infancy.
I mean, ESPN
Plus. Well, it wasn't even Plus then. It was ESPN 3.
It went .com, which you had to sign up for. And then there was Insider you had to pay for.
But ESPN 3 was free.
ESPN 3 was free, and it was just starting 10, 11 years ago. And then it became plus in the last handful of years.
But even then, you're talking 10 years ago, watching on streaming, we weren't getting the kind of broadband that we're getting now. It was glitchy.
Yep.
It was a tough watch. You and I both watched some of the university across. Like me, you were calling the games, but I was watching FGCU occasionally on ESPN3 because that was the only place to watch them. It was glitchy. It was tough to do. It was mostly, David, at that time, a way to watch minor league sports. And I always joked because I worked for a minor league hockey team. So streaming's been going on because I've been away from that team for 15 plus years, David. 16 years, I think. We were doing streaming back then. So it's been around. But I always joked it was for minor league games, high school games, and for parents to watch their kids when they couldn't make it to a game.
And now the NFL is going to be on Amazon in the fall. And we're going to have a Winter Olympics in 2034 and then a Summer Olympics in 2036. I mean, that's 12 and 14 years from now. I mean, just imagine what our sports viewing experience is going to be then.
Well, it's why I said it the other day, and I get that, if you're on Sirius, you don't get commercials with music, but you do with sports shows. I get that Amazon, when I watch my Amazon Prime and I watch The Marvelous Miss Maisel, I'm not going to get any commercials. And when I watch a football game, I'm going to get commercials. But you're asking someone who's never entered into this realm to now start selling it. Yeah, they're going to hire people that have done it before. I am fascinated. I started thinking about from the streaming standpoint, just for the local breaks. Now, the Thursday night game local break of how specific an advertiser is going to be allowed to get with Amazon of who they're targeting, who's watching. I actually thought in terms, you know me, you want to buy NASCAR. I'm going, could the Florida Sports Network afford to go after men in a certain demo on the Thursday night Amazon Prime game? What would that cost us to get into 10,000, 100,000 households in the state of Florida? Because to me, my brain has now moved from an advertising standpoint of what the data is going to be on the people watching via streaming and how an advertiser can attack them.
And I don't think I'm being too crazy when I say this. I am curious what the future of network television is going to be 10 to 12 years from now. The NFL deal will just be wrapping up. This 11-year deal, I believe it is, between the NFL and the 4 major networks will just be wrapping up. Because, Mark, I really believe live sports is keeping network TV. There is nothing that is drawing a consistent audience except for live sports. There are very few TV shows. I mean, shows that are considered successful are drawing 60% of the numbers of the Pro Bowl. I mean, live sports is dominating network television. And that's now. Do we really think there's going to be this tremendous renaissance of sitcoms and dramas over the next 8, 10, 12 years? And so I'm curious the future of network television, or whether everything is going to be on Peacock and on Paramount
David,
and on Disney Plus.
I think live television's dead, really.
Well, it's obviously not.
Well, right, but the decline is going to be slow and gradual, and it's...
Well, it has been for a generation.
Right.
I'm talking about literally, Felipe, will it survive? Okay, or will it go the way of the big box stores? I mean, that's what I'm wondering in the 2030s.
And as you look at, I'm looking at the top shows, the top rated shows of the last year. 1 through 7, all football. Number 8 was The Equalizer. By the way, that was the post-Super Bowl series premiere. It got its number because it was on right after the damn game.
Right.
Oprah with Meghan and Harry was number 9, David.
There we go, Mark. There we go. Don't you make fun of me.
Then I got football all the way through 14, where I have college football at 15 and 16. The NFL takes us to the Summer Olympics at 20. Football again with some Olympics. 60 Minutes with Nancy Pelosi on the January 6th events at our Capitol was 30th.
Okay, that's basically because the equalizers
Doesn't count.
It's almost like a football post game.
Right, it doesn't count. I don't even allow that equalizer count. Meghan and Harry and a coup.
Right. Are the only two things to get in the top 30 of network television in the last year.
By the way, that takes us through the top 44 because another 60 Minutes gets at 44. NCIS, 2 different episodes, one in March, one in February, are the only shows. Three NCISs crack the top 50.
Mark Carmen, by the way, former football player. But helps if you're good looking.
It does.
All right.
Because, there was a show called The Unicorn. I think it might still be on CBS. My wife and I ended up watching, I think, the first season on Netflix, taped the CBS episodes to watch season 2. It was really funny. But it doesn't.
Right.
It's not, you know what I mean? There's not a Seinfeld out there. There's not a show. There's not a Friends in which people watched, and then there's not even a Sopranos where Monday morning water cooler talk was about the night before's episode of The Sopranos. I think Game of Thrones is the last must-see network television show that's been on.
Yes. And by the way, I'm glad to say that I was alive for that. Like,
we're glad that you said that you were alive for that.
Because I would watch
too,
Amazing Race, Survivor with my dad. It was a blast, but it's pointless now. It's worthless. You don't have to watch commercials anymore.
And that's now. We're talking about a decade or more from now. And I'm very curious whether or not network TV, like Mark, right now, if you had to make a prediction, we're going to go have this 11-year contract, which I believe starts, does it start with this one or next year, whatever? Will network TV get the next contract from the NFL? Or by then, are they going to be signing their long-term deal? And they love to do long-term. They like to guarantee revenue. Or the next deal that the NFL does with a different commissioner, and a third of the owners will be different. Is it going to involve network television, or is it going to be all different?
I think it will involve network television. But right now, essentially every network's involved.
Yeah.
I mean, even ABC gets some carryover from ESPN.
Yeah. Because let me tell you, if they weren't involved in the NFL, remember there was talk 3-4 years ago, ESPN was getting out of the NFL business, it would cease to exist as a network today.
Well, I could argue ESPN needs the NFL more than the networks do because they're getting paid twice by advertisers and by us, the consumer, who are paying upwards of $7, $8, $9 a month for their services. David, I'll tell you this. I think one of the networks minimum, probably 2 of them go away. 2 will spend, but I think some will get outbid by something we don't even know, whether it's FUBU, whatever the hell it is. There'll be something else that'll jump into the mix.
And so therefore, where do you think the Olympics is going to be? Miller and Moulton. For those in Tampa, St. Pete, Lake City, Port Charlotte, and Venice, thanks for getting over the hump with us. For those of you in the 239, the bonus hour is next. Kevin Sheehan from ESPN in D.C. will join us.
The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Get your tickets at gpstpete.com to secure the best seats.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
With him.
Oh, yeah?
Okay,
When did this happen?
Saturday. He got in trouble for what he said on Saturday. He was fired Sunday morning.
I got to talk to my man Deepak really quick. Dude.
Lindy, it is expired, by the way. And NG Lindy, the DirecTV deal is expired. They were going to bail, and they didn't want anything to do with it. And now they've realized that if they don't have the Sunday ticket, that DirecTV might go away. So there's a chance we're going to see not only DirecTV have Sunday ticket, but probably you're going to have
Apple
with
is my guess.
Apple or Amazon, but probably Apple or Disney Plus is the other one that was leaning heavy on it.
But the thought by many is that it's a chance for the NFL to get into business with yet another media partner. That they're already in bed with ESPN Disney. Why do they need to go to ESPN Plus?
Well, can't you just also buy Red Zone like on the NFL app?
I don't know about Red Zone.
No, I think you can.
I said I don't know. You just asked me if I knew something. I said I don't know, and then you said, "Well, yeah, you can." I don't know.
I said I'm pretty sure you can. And I'm pretty sure you can just buy Red Zone on the app, and then if you have an Apple TV or like a Fire Stick or something, you download the NFL app, you sign in, and then boom, you got Red Zone. But that's the future.
Red Zone isn't. You think Red Zone the future? People still like to watch their team play.
Oh no, I'm saying the method of how Red Zone can be. Exactly. No. Red Zone. Obviously, you want to watch your team. I always do Red Zone one TV, game the other TV. But listen, Deepak, man, if you're serious about that, man, bravo. Thank you.
I think my stream chat's the slowest. You guys are responding to people before I even see what it is.
Well, you're on Twitch, which is about 5 seconds behind this, because StreamYard's where
it's where it's really happening.
Well, it's where it's originated from.
Also, I'm responding to
basically you're on a satellite feed.
Deepak, we used to go to Marlins all the time and watch college football games. It was awesome.
Mine's a lot slower than that.
But a sports restaurant, sports bar.
I don't know. They're about the same on mine from when they come through. I'm just
huge. I am an advocate for your success, my friend. Also, if anyone's looking,
it would, Ryan, it would be fantastic. I don't know how they do it, but it is, with the NHL package that I have, it is so nice to be able to. The other night, I watched the Leafs broadcast of Carolina Leafs. I know that's the TV broadcast, but man, to not have to hear Trip Tracy, what a joy.
Fam, no, I don't think so. I've tried. Fam, we couldn't get anybody at Fox to tell us who was broadcasting the games. We looked right at him and we said, you own the league.
Who is Kevin Sheehan with?
He is with ESPN, I believe 980. Yeah, the team. Team 980. literally just got off the air. If this takes a while, his show ended like a couple minutes ago.
Okay.
So you're going to have
I'm going to call a couple times.
Keep trying. May want to text him also.
Okay.
But yeah.
Also, if anyone wants to open a Wawa near FGCU and make a shit ton of money, please do it. FGCU students would go and buy everything.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. Stop.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It's the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Thanks so much for being with us. Kevin Sheehan from the team 980 in DC will join us here coming up momentarily. Our poll question at that Mark Miller, at the David Moulton, and at FL Sports Network. It's 7 weeks tomorrow that the Major League Baseball season, 50 days away, is when it's supposed to start. Will it start on time? Yes or no? And one of the few things you and I agree on, we both think no.
I'm just fired up right now, David, that the no's have more votes than the I don't cares. No, I think you should be ecstatic about that. You're the baseball guy of the two of us. And the fact that people are actually, that they care, that they might even be upset that the season doesn't start on time. Wow.
David Samson believes that it'll take 5 weeks from whenever a deal is struck. A lot of people think they can get it done in 4. I agree with David Samson. I think 5 is better because it's not just getting everybody into Arizona and Florida and getting them in game shape, et cetera, but it's also, well, we got a few hundred free agents out there. I mean, teams literally have to fill their rosters. I mean, there's not a team that is not going to sign multiple players as soon as they can. I mean, Freddie Freeman's a free agent. There's a bunch of big-name guys who we still don't know where they're playing.
And then there's the rest of everybody's team. I mean, This is much like NFL free agency now. The teams have done a really good job at trying to make life better for them. And that's why there are more free agents than ever before in just about all sports. Baseball and football in particular. And they were just getting swinging on baseball before we had the lockout.
Kevin Sheehan from the team 980 in DC. He just got done with his weekday morning show. Kevin, kind enough to join us. You can follow him on Twitter at Kevin Sheehan DC. Kevin Sheehan DC. Kevin, it's David and Mark. Thanks for agreeing to do this. Walking right out of the studio. How are you?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
First off, just throwing one in underhanded here. How's the Commanders going over?
Not well. It's funny. I just finished up. It's a week after the actual official announcement of the name and the branding and the whole thing, and it basically, landed with a thud. I mean, I think a lot of people saw this coming. A significant percentage of the fan base, or whatever's left of it, because Snyder's run off much of what was, as you guys know, as football fans, a very passionate fan base for many, many years. But, most of the fan base didn't want to lose the old name. So you had that working against you. The new branding was never going to be, a wow moment for anybody. It was going to feel very much like almost an expansion team landed in town, except with the same owner. And then they just flubbed the day up so badly. It was awkward. It was uncomfortable to watch. It was very disorganized per usual. And, they ended up with uniforms that doesn't look anything like what they used to wear. They got a name that nobody really loved. They better win and win big. And of course, that hasn't happened in 30 years for them to keep anybody left. It's dismal right now, but people are still talking ball and hoping that in this off season they land a big quarterback, and maybe that could change the direction of the franchise.
No one would love the Commanders more if they start winning games. This is really simple. I mean, obviously there's rumors out there with this Russell Wilson thing. How much more are they going to like the Commanders if all of a sudden Russell Wilson were a Commander?
I don't know. It's a really good question because I think there's a certain, fan, and I would put myself into this category, born and raised Washingtonian, remember all of the glory years, all of the Super Bowls, being one of the great teams in the league, one of the marquee franchises in the league, and living through the last 22 years of this Snyder nightmare. And I think a lot of the passion's been sucked out of people like me. So, yeah, the Commanders could, trade for Russell Wilson and they could become a really good team, but it really feels very much like an expansion team. It feels very detached from what, many of us grew up rooting for and get nostalgic about. Now, with that said, there's a younger generation that has known nothing but losing when it comes to the pro football team, has known nothing but dysfunction and drama. And if somehow that turned around, I think, the team could really create, with a younger demographic, a new fan base that could get excited about it. But there's this feeling that a lot of us have that as long as Dan Snyder's around, it doesn't matter who they sign. It's just never going to work.
Kevin Sheehan, mornings on the Team 980 in DC. You can follow him on Twitter at Kevin Sheehan DC, Kevin Sheehan DC. Where did this Russell Wilson thing start?
Well, last year, obviously, it started with there was a chance or there was discussion around him being traded, right? His agent leaked the list of the 4 teams that he'd be interested in being traded to. He did that interview with Dan Patrick. Coming into this offseason, you've had multiple people report that, it's a possibility that the Seahawks and Russell Wilson could part ways. And as we've been talking as a quarterback-starved team in this market, and with a head coach, by the way, who's promised a big swing. And the big swings are Aaron Rodgers if he's available, Russell Wilson if he's available, and then the whole Deshaun Watson situation. Everything else is, you're talking about second and third tier. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo obviously isn't in that class, and Mitch Trubisky's not in that class. So you're talking about something much less. So the coaches talked about taking, a big cut this year and going for it. And they have significant business reasons to do it. They have a fan base, a season ticket base that has dwindled to one of the lowest in the league. I reported the other day that Russell Wilson, from a couple of sources out at the Pro Bowl last weekend, isn't against Washington. He's from Richmond. I think, they want a bigger market, and the 2 LA markets are already filled with quarterbacks. The 2 New York markets, you've got one team that drafted a quarterback number 2 overall last year. The other one, the Giants, if they're interested, I would think Russell Wilson could put the Giants on the list. But, DC's a 40-minute private jet ride to New York City. He's from Richmond. The team has a ton of cap space. It's not a terrible roster, to be honest with you. They've done a decent job with the roster. They've got some playmakers offensively. They've just been without a quarterback. And so I think, you start putting all that together, and Washington doesn't seem like a long shot, but that's assuming he gets traded. And to me, the reality test in all this is, why would Seattle trade Russell Wilson? Like, he's under contract for 2 more years. They brought Pete Carroll back. They've got a top 6, 7, 8 quarterback, wherever you want to put them. As we all know, they're hard to find. Who would play quarterback for Seattle next year if not Russell Wilson? So my strong lean, would be that he's a Seattle Seahawk next year.
And my lean's the same way with Aaron Rodgers, for the record. I know my co-host disagrees. When I'm listening to you talk right now and being down here in Florida and the way the animosity is towards Snyder, I'm seeing the early parts of that with the Miami Dolphins. With this Stephen Ross story and Flores being fired, set the Miami fan up for what it's like to have ownership change, because they all are clamoring for an ownership change. No one's clamored for an ownership change the way the Washington people have, and it doesn't seem like it's anywhere closer to happening, even with everything that's going on. this is something you can't get out of. And when a fan base can't get out of it, obviously how they've answered it is not showing up anymore, right?
Yeah, I mean, for people who know the history of this franchise, longtime NFL fans, this was one of the most rabid, passionate fan bases in all of professional sports. I mean, you couldn't get a ticket to a game in this town for years when they were at RFK, certainly. And even in the early days at FedEx Field when they weren't great, but the passion was still there. They've been a 22-year train wreck under this owner. They've won 2 playoff games since 1992. They've not been past the divisional round and have only been in the divisional round twice. The last time they got to the second round of the playoffs was the 2005 season. But beyond that, beyond the losing, there are lovable losers in sports, right? Cubs fans had a lovable loser forever before they finally won. This has been a detestable loser. They've been embarrassing at every turn. They have been poorly run, poorly managed, misbehaved, arrogant, and he's become the most despised figure in the history of this town that isn't a politician. And, so for many of us, the passion level, if it was at a 10 years ago, even 8 years ago when 10 years ago when RG3 was here and Mike Shanahan was the coach and it looked like things were onward and upward. Well, he even sabotaged that relationship by getting too close and essentially picking a 23-year-old self-absorbed quarterback over a borderline Hall of Fame coach with 4 future head coaches on the staff, one of whom is going to be a potential Super Bowl winning coach this weekend. So, yeah, it's the passion has been sucked out of everybody. The fan base is at an all-time low, which makes the name change, by the way, probably the best timing it could have ever had, because they're targeting really a new, younger demo, people who haven't really picked their team yet. But I think there's a lot of question as to whether or not they'll ever win as long as he owns the team.
Kevin, final question then. If they're going to take a big swing, and like you said, there are very few candidates, but one of them is who you mentioned. It's Deshaun Watson. The other one I will throw out there, if Kyler Murray's insisting on a divorce, I wonder if he qualifies. But just stick with Watson for a second. With everything that has gone on with that franchise, and there is testimony before Congress last week about improper behavior towards women, especially in the organization. Can this organization at this time even contemplate a Deshaun Watson trade?
It's a great question. We've talked about it a lot. I mean, on one hand, I think it's a PR non-starter. It should be, I think, for a lot of people. On the other hand, how much lower can you go? Like, they're going to continue to say terrible things about you anyway. And the only way out of this thing, the only way to generate new business and new customers is to win. And Deshaun Watson's an elite quarterback. And if he's actually available and he's eligible and he's rehabilitated and he's not going to be a threat to your community if you bring him into your community, I would bet you that the majority of what's remaining of the fan base would say, absolutely. What else? I mean, again, they're as low as they can go. I mean, every day there's another story. Adam Schefter just had 2 tweets about Dan Snyder himself is going to launch an investigation into one of the claims that was made in front of Congress last week. It's a never-ending negative drama here. So, I mean, what's the real downside? I mean, you lose some fans. Well, you've already lost most of them anyway. The only way out of this is winning, on the field. And Deshaun Watson would give him that chance.
Yes,
by the way,
he would.
let me just mention, Ron Rivera is a good man and maybe the highest quality person they've had in the organization in a long time. And that's another guy, like if he sticks around and you can add a quarterback, I think people do believe in him. It's just whether or not you believe he'll have autonomy for a long enough period of time to turn it around.
Kevin Sheehan, mornings on the team 980 in DC. Follow Kevin on Twitter at Kevin Sheehan DC. Kevin Sheehan DC. Kevin, thanks for doing this, particularly right as you were done on the air. We really appreciate it, and hopefully we can talk again.
No worries at all. Thanks for having me.
Kevin Sheehan from the team 980 in DC, joining us here on Miller and Moulton. We did point this out, that with the young dominant quarterback seemingly in the AFC, that if Deshaun Watson gets traded to an NFC team, he could dramatically alter the balance of power quickly. It's just a fact. Breeze and Brady have retired from the NFC in the last 12 months.
Right. And if Aaron Rodgers leaves the Packers, they'll trade him to an AFC team.
And then there's the Russell Wilson saga, in which he's the best quarterback remaining in the conference. 16 minutes after the hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Fam, I don't understand why they didn't go with a red wolves or a red something. I don't get it.
I hate the lettering of Commanders on the front of the jersey too.
I haven't seen it. Is it as bad looking as he said it is?
Look, the uniforms are great, except for that. It's horrible.
Well, that's kind of a big part of a uniform, though, isn't it?
Yeah, the front here. I will say the white ones just say Washington. I kind of like that. But it's the red ones. Let's see if I can get a picture.
And, Mr. Butte there, I don't think he's pointing out that Richmond claims the Commanders. It's just that he's saying he's from Richmond, therefore he's not adverse to the area.
So Florida State had a Board of Trustees meeting yesterday, and they basically are saying that the chair, where is it? Florida State's trying to say they can't compete. So I'm all for it. I'm going to see where this bill goes, because Florida, we're a little bit, it's a great bill. We can't compete with what our competitors in other states can do at this moment. I'd love to talk more about this, because what Florida's doing has got me so impressed. Why can't Florida State do the same thing?
I will say it's the weakest part of the uniform.
Not a fan. Look, these are the other ones. That's the white one, and then that's the black one.
That black one's horrible, but
You don't like the black one?
no.
That's the one that I said looks like the Oak Hill jersey, like the McDonald's All-American jersey.
Right.
Yeah. They also don't really have a logo. Like the W is the logo.
Louis Riddick interviewing for Steelers
Yeah.
GM.
So we in Miami. I just left Mr. Jones. What the heck? Oh, there we go.
A female comedian just tweeted out, "What if your soulmate is somewhere right now eating a fillet of fish?"
Would someone have to pay you for you to eat one of those?
No,
Oh, you actually like it.
I didn't say that. But
Or
you asked
no.
me if I. No, I eat fast food all the time. When you're hungry, you'll eat anything not nailed down.
Sweet Home Alabama, Free Bird, and Give Me Back My Bullets. Adam just asked top 3 songs to get him pumped up for NASCAR. I just went 3 Skinner songs.
There you go.
Freebird is amazing.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes after the hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap today was the day when, along with some final thoughts, all coming up in 15 plus minutes time. You were just chatting about something that you and I find more interesting than most, I think.
Well, yesterday, Florida State had a Board of Trustees meeting, and name, image, and likeness was a big part of the discussions with the Florida State's Board of Trustees. Drew Weatherford, who's a former FSU quarterback, was appointed to the board back in September. And they've spent some time in Tallahassee with the state people trying to figure out the laws behind the NIL. And basically, what Florida State people are saying is that there's a couple of changes they want to make to the NIL bill in the state of Florida. But basically, what they are saying is that right now they say Florida is behind other states and that we can't compete with what competitors in other states are doing at this moment. That's what Florida State's saying. Now, I'm fascinated by that because the Gators have already started this Gator Collective where they seem to be printing money for their athletes.
Right. Now, I think we'd all agree Florida has more money and access to more money than Florida State.
Has more fans.
Yeah.
Period. And what the collective is, for those that do not know, is it's a membership. It's a $20 a month membership to give you access to some players, to give you opportunity to win some merchandise simply by being a member. I do think Florida State could enter into that world. They would maybe not be as successful as Florida, but I still think they could ring the bell, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is something that I'm going to end up digging into more of because NIL on the surface is great, and I love every part of it. You know that. But it was not intended to say David Moulton signs with Texas to play defensive line. Well, you get $50,000 a year because you're a defensive lineman.
Right.
It was intended for David to be able to go sign autographs, do whatever, cut his own deal. And now it just seems that you get a deal because you're going to a certain school.
I don't see them putting the genie back in the bottle, as they say. I don't think that Congress, I think they'll be tempted at some point to get involved. I don't think they'll be able to pass anything.
I don't even know if they'll go that far. I think they'll be tempted to get involved, but I keep saying the same thing, basically, and I hate doing that on this show from day to day, but I know we get new listeners. But the whole 501(c) not-for-profit business model is what they're using to pay these kids at certain places. When you open up Pandora's box with the 501(c)(3), you're getting far more than college athletes. You're going to get into the area of big-time donors on both sides of the aisle, David. And I think at that point, this will largely disappear.
Right now, it's a states issue. And as we've seen in a lot of issues in this country, we usually fall back on states' rights. Okay, they do this here. They don't, like we talk gambling on this show. Certain states you can gamble, certain you can't. Some have mobile betting, others don't. Some have the lottery, some have riverboat, you name it. And I don't see there being agreement amongst the conferences, and I don't see agreement amongst legislators, especially at the federal level, to ever do something about this. I think it's going to remain messy for and be exploited, quite frankly, for a very long time.
The one thing, let me ask you this question, because the way that I see the college system doing something about it, and you and I are huge proponents of a grand czar of college football, a commissioner of college football. We both, don't you think the sport needs it? I know I do.
I don't.
You don't.
Well, that's not true. I've always said it'll never happen. So
I agree that it will never happen. Hear me out. I believe it would be a better sport if there were one person running the entire sport. Right now, it's a free-for-all. Every conference is its own entity. Here's where I could see this going away. You want to give you a conference or a college football commissioner? Let conferences not named the SEC and the Big Ten figure out NIL better than everybody else.
It's tough to imagine that
I know
those two conferences would then sit back and accept what it is that they negotiate.
But if their state laws were put into such a way, if this guy's right, that Florida's NIL law is restricting Florida teams from being as good as Texas teams, just because Texas seems to have their own rules. A&M and Texas are doing whatever the hell they want right now. And all of a sudden, Florida slips, and Alabama, they don't have the same laws as others, even though Nick will figure it out. But just if the big boy schools in the SEC start losing players to other schools because they've got NIL figured out in their states to it, I think it's the only way possible for there to be dramatic change to NIL. Without it, David, you're right. If the rich just keep getting richer, why would the power brokers in college football stop it? They won't. And I truly believe that the government's not going to get involved in this because there are far bigger things within how this is being done that would be affected if they do.
The NCAA was the one that still could. But, Mark, I think if there will be any dialing back of NIL, it will have to come at the NCAA level. Even though the NCAA does not, quote unquote, control big time college football, they can set the rules for it. I mean, they are the ones that put schools on probation, etc. I do think that they could come out and go, hey, whatever it is that all you conferences and states are doing, just so you know, this is what you have to do to comply and be eligible to play Division I athletics. Don't care what your state rules are, by the way. If they're more expansive than this, don't know what to tell you. You need to comply with this. Otherwise, your athletes are ineligible.
Do you ever see a time under the leadership of Mark Emmert that would happen?
Absolutely not.
We're both in agreement there.
Absolutely not. The only way that I could see it is, one, a new president, and he just got reelected, which shows you just how disinterested the NCAA is and its members in this, is if literally the sport as a whole almost begs them. It says, you've got to do something about this. It is completely and utterly out of control.
And it's not the number one problem for the college football coach right now. The number one problem for the college football coach is the transfer portal.
Right.
I'm not saying that that's the number one problem, but to the coaches, the transfer portal is the number one issue facing them. So they are going to want to fix the transfer portal before they ever even think about trying to fix the NIL.
And that I actually think they can come to some sort of an agreement on. I think it would have to go conference by conference. I am hopeful that when they finally sit down and negotiate what the next playoff system is going to be, that they say, while we're here, why don't we order out for pizza and let's talk about this transfer portal thing. This is what our coaches are saying. What are your coaches saying? And then begin to, if they're going to in any way, rein that in. And my guess is they will, which will eventually lead to more lawsuits, because the athletes are going to go, no, you can't do that. And I think we're going to get back. I'll be honest with you, Mark. I think before the end of the decade that we'll be back before the Supreme Court.
You could very well be right, because the California-based National College Players Association filed a complaint yesterday with the National Labor Relations Board saying not only the NCAA, but Pac-12, USC, UCLA, and all Division I men's basketball, football, and women's basketball programs, they're trying to get them put in as employees of their universities.
Right. You remember how quickly the Northwestern quarterback was and how shot down he got? What was it? A handful of years ago?
4 or 5 years ago?
I think it was near the end of our first act. So I think we're talking around 5, maybe 6 years ago. Because I thought,
yes,
I remember talking about it in this studio.
Right.
And which, he said, hey, we're employees. And
they were going to unionize.
Right. And they were told by the NLRB and other places, no, you're not. Yeah, I think that might change.
Yeah, because there was a ruling by that board in September of what they're trying to piggyback on.
That brings about, by the way, its own sets of problems.
Absolutely.
When you go from non-employee to employee, and now, therefore, they are literally your employer. We got a whole new sets of rules and laws that you got to follow now, including taxes.
Which they would pay on NIL, but now they'd be paying it on the scholarship as well.
27.
Careful what you wish for, David.
Well, hey, it all went to court. This is how these things happen. You go to court, judges rule, things open up. Best laid plans of mice and men, Mark. There's been many a piece of legislation and many a judicial ruling, which was done so with the best of intentions. And then after the fact, they went, oh, wow, we didn't envision this. 26 minutes before the hour. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap today was the day when. Final thoughts for Miller and Moulton, Hump Day edition, Florida Sports Network.
Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk free trial. And use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
See, the Steelers are interested, or they're interviewing Louis Riddick for a GM spot.
Saw that late yesterday. You know, he hasn't worked in the league in 8-9 years.
He's been doing broadcasting for a little bit now.
I understand, but do you think a broadcaster's qualified to step right in and run a franchise? I mean, John Lynch did it. John Lynch had no front office experience. Niners hired him to be their president. Was it 6 years ago? They've done okay.
But is it a good fit, like him in the Steelers? What do you think?
I think if the Steelers think so, yeah. I mean, their track record with developing coaches and front office people is excellent.
We'll see. Hey, did you see the top 15 coaches of all time list that came out yesterday out of the NBA?
No. Just get back to the Steelers thing, though. I thought they had two in-house candidates. One guy's the cap guy.
Yeah.
Isn't he Khan? And then the other guy's more the personnel guy. And I thought when What's-His-Face agreed to step down, I thought Khan was the leader in the clubhouse. So, all right. Top 15 who?
So the NBA released an official list of the top 15 coaches in NBA history.
NBA coaches.
Yes. It's
all time.
Part of the 75th anniversary thing. Eric Spoelstra is on that list.
Wow.
Are you saying that he is, or he's
no, he is. Like, he is on the list.
Of the top 15 coaches of all time? 1-5. Holy shit.
Where's Auerbach?
He's there. It's in no particular order.
Oh, well, that sucks.
Yeah, but the 75 list is in no order either, so.
Huh.
I will say there were a couple other questionable ones. Doc Rivers is on that list.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
They're in alphabetical order. Auerbach, Brown, Daly, Red Holzman, Phil Jackson, Casey Jones, Steve Kerr, Don Nelson, Pop, Dr. Jack, Pat Riley, Doc Rivers, Jerry Sloan, Eric Spoelstra, and Lenny Wilkins. Doc Rivers and Eric Spoelstra on that list, huh?
I think Spo deserves to be on that list.
Of course you do. It's your favorite team. And
No.
coach your...
I actually, like, unbiasedly, he's probably going to go down as one of the winningest coaches in NBA history. He's only 50.
Right. That's why I'm stunned he's on this list already.
Well, what? 5 trips to the finals?
5.
Won it twice?
One is, yeah, actually, yeah, 5 trips.
4 in a row, and then 2 the
bubble, yeah.
Pandemic year.
Mm-hmm. It was in a...
Doc Rivers is a joke.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, you can't blow as many series as his teams have blown.
And
up 3-1 last year, up 3-2 with the better team. I mean, that's a joke.
I mean, we should. Who are snubs? Let's see. Bill Russell
only coached a couple years.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Well, Bill Fitzer just died.
What about shit? What's his name?
Steve Kerr, I think, is also a bit of a joke.
Yeah,
on that list.
I feel like he's only there just because he's a player coach. Probably one of the better player coaches in NBA history. And again, he is a product of Phil Jackson in a sense. George Karl? He's not on that list.
Yeah, I think it's tough to be on the list if you've never won a title.
Got a lot of wins though, but yeah, he's never won a title.
Dick Mata's not on the list. Billy Cunningham's not on the list.
Ooh, yeah, Billy Cunningham.
Rudy Tomjanovich is not on the list.
Rudy T. What about No. Not Budenholzer. It's been.
I mean, to put Doc Rivers on that list over Rudy Tomjanovich, I mean, that's absurd.
That is absurd.
And there's one old guy, John Klunda.
Come back.
I think
Kundala.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"19 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. It's another reason to watch us, follow us, subscribe to us, the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel. Between the three of us, one of us will bring up a list at least once a show, if not more than that. We'll debate it during a commercial break. Then we'll decide whether or not it's worth bringing that conversation on the air. We won't do this one, but it makes for interesting viewing. So twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton. Subscribe to us. Follow us. At the very least, follow us. You know the drill by now. Mark's begging. We have a bet. He needs followers.
You really call this begging?
Yeah.
Promoting the show and asking you to use
Yeah.
one of the ways to watch our show and subscribe. I'd like you to subscribe to our YouTube page. I'd like to follow us on Facebook. Those are all things. I'd like you to follow each of us on Twitter and our Florida Sports Network Twitter account. It's not begging. It's promoting our show.
It's borderline. Time now for
Leave it to the oldest guy in the show, and definitely the oldest soul to live in the past. Here's David Moulton with Today Was the Day When.
going old school nearly 200 years ago. 1825, House of Representatives elect John Quincy Adams, the 6th president of our nation. Remember, we didn't inaugurate presidents for the longest time until late March.
John Quincy Adams' great-grandson, I believe, follows us on Twitter.
1861. You know, the South was really serious about this overthrow. They elected Jefferson Davis, president of the Confederate States of America. War of Northern Aggression, my ass. 1870, Army establishes the National Weather Service. 1895, William Morgan debuts his new sport. It's called mintonette. You know it as volleyball.
I don't know if there are any members of the FGCU volleyball team following us on Twitch.tv, but it would be great if they were.
Unbelievable. In 1900, Dwight Davis establishes the Davis Cup. 1951, the St. Louis Browns sign a good right-handed pitcher. He's been around a little while. Satchel Paige. He was 45 when they signed him. 1961, the Beatles' first ever gig, Mark, at Liverpool's Cavern Club. They would play at the club nearly 300 times over the next 2 years before, obviously, they got kind of big. 1964, on this day, the Beatles were on Ed Sullivan. 74 million people watched their appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show. That's 23 million more than watched the NFC Championship game. 1968, throw in a little Olympics. Jean-Claude Killy from France. He wins the downhill on his way to sweeping all 3 major races. He wins the slalom, the giant slalom, and the downhill, all in the same Olympics, which I believe were held in France also in 68. He became kind of a big deal. 1971, All in the Family does a gay theme episode. In 1971.
And it's so damn good.
Norman
Nothing like
Lear,
making Archie
yes,
uncomfortable. It was so great.
Norman Lear, then and now, fearless. You remember the movie Warriors?
Yes.
It was released on this day in 1979.
Come out and play.
If you're unfamiliar with the movie, it's about gangs and gang violence and owning the city and that sort of deal. Well, shortly after the movie came out, gangs started going to the movie theater to see said movie. And fights were breaking out all over the country amongst rival gangs at the movies. They had to change the whole marketing of the movie. They had to bring security for the first time that I could remember into the movie theaters. Warriors, a cult classic.
Very much so.
Released on this day in 79. This for Felipe. Rick Barry on this day in 1980, playing for the Houston Rockets, was the first NBA player to ever make 8 threes in a game.
Kane's legend.
Yes, to show the evolution of the game. He was the first one in 1980.
Just quickly, how many three-pointers did he make in a game?
8.
Okay, just making sure. You were so ready to get that Canes thing out. I wanted to make sure you actually heard what David said.
Yeah, 8.
Big day for me in 1985. Madonna's Like a Virgin became the number 1 album in the country. 1991, Terry Norris knocks down Sugar Ray Leonard twice on his way to beating Sugar Ray. I believe it was his last fight. He got beat up pretty badly in it, which was, I think, the first time that ever really happened to Sugar Ray. 1992, the NBA All-Star Game was in Orlando. The West won by 40. You may remember the game as the game that Magic came out of retirement because he had retired 3 months earlier after discovering that he was HIV positive. Magic played in the All-Star Game and was the MVP. That game taking place 30 years ago today in Orlando. 1994, Israel and the PLO signed a peace accord. That was kind of a big deal.
They followed it so well.
Well, yeah, we've had enforcement's been a problem. Mark, do you remember Riverdance?
Oh, yeah.
It debuted in Dublin on this day in 95 with Michael Flatley. Oh, the women loved them.
I remember it was the first big act that we had at then Everblades Arena.
Really?
Right after opening hockey game, the Riverdance show came to the arena.
Late 98 then?
Yeah.
And Mark, it was on this day 16 years ago that Al Michaels and John Madden teamed back up again with NBC. They left ABC and Monday Night Football to join NBC, and they're going to start this little thing called Sunday Night Football. We'll see how it does. Mark, I'm going to be all over the place. I will say legendary journalist Roger Mudd, who passed away a little less than a year ago, would have been 94 today. He asked it's why you, I don't know about you, Mark, we all have our own interviewing style. Sometimes the simplest question is the best. He's interviewing Ted Kennedy in late 79. Kennedy's way ahead of Carter in the polls. And Roger Mudd asked him, so why do you want to be president? And Kennedy couldn't answer it. Dropped about 30 points in the polls. I don't know if he beats Reagan a year later, but he would have beat Carter because Carter barely beat him as it was. Remember Cowboys quarterback Danny White?
Yeah.
He's 70 today.
Okay.
Mookie Wilson is 66. Ian Eagle is 53. Jair Alexander's 25. Vlad Guerrero's 47. Travis Tritt is 59. Vince Papale. Remember the movie? Walk On, Eagles wide receiver, Mark Wahlberg, Vince Papale, 76 today. The actor Michael B. Jordan is 35. Joe Pesci is 79. Mia Farrow, 77. Judith Light, 73. And still with the Giants, but apparently for not much longer, Saquon Barkley is 25. And that is today was the day.
Only one real omission, and it's not really an omission. I'm just doing it because it's fun, and you like your presidential stuff. I thought for sure you would give us that born today in 1773 was William Henry Harrison, our ninth president.
I saw it and passed it up.
Who's a distant relative of my wife.
Seriously?
Yeah. Honest to goodness.
Does she follow us, by the way?
On Twitter?
Yeah.
Yeah, she subscribes.
Okay.
I use her Amazon Prime account to pay us every month. Are you out of your mind? Does yours?
I don't think so, no.
Huh. Interesting. Maybe we can work on that.
Maybe.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
We're going to Chelmsford, Michigan for the good, where officers were called out to a business after a painting had been taken off the wall. And why it's the good is that the man who stole the painting felt guilt and then called in, said, I stole it. I want to bring it back. And the owner declined to press charges for the theft because it was returned.
Wow.
So a little bit of good there on all fronts, huh?
Very understanding.
For the bad, we go to Collier County, where Eugene Bingham was picking fights up and down Fifth Avenue on Monday night. Ocean Prime, Yaba, and a few others. He also was claiming he was Mick Jagger while being drunk and trying to start fights with people. When he left Ocean Prime after the manager called police, he made his way over to Gambier Park, and officers tried to stop him. That's when he charged the officer, missed, landed on his hind end, and was arrested. He told the officer, don't F with me, leave me the F alone. They neglected to do that and took him directly to jail. Finally, the ugly, we go to Italy, where Marinella Beretta lived alone near Lake Como. The yard had been growing a little long, and a tree had fallen down, causing neighbors to call and wondering why the overgrown vegetation had happened. The reason that it happened, David, is that Marinella died in 2019, and her body had been sitting in the chair where she was last sitting for 2 years.
Oh, snap.
Oh.
Body was found sitting in a living room chair. Based on the decay of the body, they said that she's been dead for over 2 years.
Man.
Ugh.
No one.
That.
Wow.
Right. I mean, Lake Como, pretty nice. Good piece of real estate. You'd
Oh.
think there's a niece or a nephew somewhere.
Must not have had a lot
Wanted
of friends.
to check in on the lonely aunt.
Right. Must not have had a lot of friends.
And that, David, is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, February the 9th, 2022.
All right. I'm just warning people, beware of the rack.
Sparky knows.
Michigan State found that out last weekend. All right. Rutgers hosting Ohio State on Big Ten Network tonight at 7. Beware of the rack. ESPN NBA doubleheader, 7:30 and 10 o'clock. Chicago and Charlotte early. Golden State, Utah late. TNT NHL doubleheader. Remember, these are all makeup games. They weren't supposed to be playing right now. 8 and 10:30 on TNT. Nashville and Dallas early. Islanders and Vancouver late.
You mentioned the one college hoop game, David. There are a lot of ranked teams on the road tonight. Texas Tech on the road in Oklahoma. Tennessee on the road at Mississippi. Baylor on the road at K-State. You mentioned Ohio State already. Houston on the road at SMU, and Xavier on the road at Seton Hall. Could be an upset night in college hoops when you've got that many ranked teams all playing roadies.
FGCU's got a home doubleheader. Nationally ranked women at 5, men at 7:30 against North Alabama at home, Alico Arena. So I got a double dip tonight.
Oh, you're working.
I'm working.
About time. I mean, I'd figured your wife has been sick of you being home this much already. Because she'd been gone for 2 of the weeks.
That's true. We binge watched Ozark. There's not much left for us to talk about. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great rest of your day. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers,